Welcome back, everyone. This is DBDL, and I'm asking you straight away, what is dementia? If you're an OG and a loyal Scrim Night watcher, then you understand this insider already. If not, don't worry, we will explain it to you probably throughout the evening. We are here once again to scout through the teams because, admittedly, the DBDLeague staff team is pretty much in a bubble since we're streaming every single weekend. We are seeing what's going on in DBDL, and then we hear a little bit left and right what's happening in the other organization, but we do need more people for the Halloween event. Especially, we're planning to go with at least 16 competitors, if not even a qualifier round ahead. Therefore, perfect chance today for Rejected and Tamashi to show us what they got, and with me, an absolute legend, my beloved Ekta. So glad to be here with you.
It sounds like you're in love with me, Dyer. That's just that's just what I'm picking up from what you're saying. But yeah, absolutely. The more teams, the merrier, right? And the more teams that we can get in playing today, practicing, showing what they can do, putting them under a bit of a microscope, giving them access to this kind of high-level environment, you know, just making sure that everything goes off smoothly and everything like that. It's a great time. And also remember that there is no delay here today. There is just going to be chat, which I know I'll have open when I actually get it up on my phone in a hot minute. But yeah, that'll be open all the time if you wanted to ask us questions directly, have proper interactions, talk about the game as it's happening, and ask for thoughts and opinions on that, then you can absolutely feel free. I'm not actually sure, Dyer. Do you know where I could find which killers are actually being played, so we could have a brief discussion about that?
Absolutely, you can find them in your DMs right here. There we go. Plague,
So
Artist, Spirit, Doctor, and Demogorgon. And yes, I'm actually hyped for the Demogorgon because yesterday we have seen a Demogorgon slaughter fest because both Demogorgons were playing super strong. We even had a Demogorgon that had an elimination on 5 generators. So absolutely insane. So we will see if Demogorgon is the new uprising, surprising killer right there. But overall, I feel like this best of 5 is a very exciting mix. We have this tactical gameplay at the start. Plague is my favorite competitive killer. I know that I will get a lot of heat for that, but it's my favorite set whenever it's up. Artist brings some quicker dynamics. Spirit brings us to S tier, and then Doctor and Demo bringing us slowly back from S tier to the more mechanical killers, to the M1 killers. Actor, do you have a killer that you are particularly looking out for tonight?
Spirit, to be honest. I mean, we saw what could happen with Plague on the Plague on Suffocation Pit, if I recall correctly. We saw what happened on Sunday. Plague can really go the distance. It's very slow, dragged out. It is interesting to see from a teamwork perspective how the teams opt to deal with that, because Plague is so team reliant. It's one where communication is everything. The fact that you can vault the wrong window at the beginning of the game, and in approximately 5.5 minutes, your entire team is dead. So you can enjoy that for damn sure. Other than that, I would probably say Spirit. You were mentioning Demogorgon. Yes, I didn't actually have a chance to. I didn't actually have a chance to catch that scrim yesterday. But Demogorgon on 5 gens, I mean, we do know that Demogorgon is in fact an S tier killer, right? I mean, this is just how it is.
S plus.
Best killer in the game. It's
absolutely
a bit too spooky, and I get scared very easily, and I need to be comforted and held when I play Dead by Daylight. So, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, I'm really hyped as well. I said, and thank you, Swifty, for agreeing with me that the Plague is really nice to watch there from the coordination aspect. But yeah, we have so many different skills that we're testing here in this best of 5, just for everyone who is potentially new to the Scrim Nights. So they are meant to be for the teams a practice chance, because usually a killer is playing against the survivor team multiple times, but you never really have a scrim in the competitive scene where you set up both teams and then you're playing a best of 5 together, and especially not on a stage where people are watching, where casters are yelling over what you're doing. So giving you the chance to gain this experience on the DBDL stage when you're aiming towards playing in it. This is the one thing for the teams. For us at the same time, it's scouting a little bit, because of course we can ask 5 million questions, in the registration form going into the Halloween event, and then we have a lot of nice answers. But it's better if you have seen the teams before, if you know how they are playing, if you also know how they are working in the background. And therefore, we really appreciate the community nights as well. Last but not least, no delay. Our chance 2 times per week to talk to you, especially since we are usually on 10-minute delay. So if you have any questions about Season 9, about upcoming events, about how DBDL came together, about what we think about balance changes. And there's the first question already. I don't know if everyone was aware of the developer update that Behavior has posted today. Some very interesting questions are probably coming up. On the killers, how huge the singularities changes, I cannot really give an opinion yet, admittedly, because I haven't read through them yet. But it looks interesting. But I love Actor. I don't know if you have read it yet, but Iron Will is back to 100% noise reduction.
Really? Okay. Well, I mean, the bouncing team is going to have to make a
Yes.
couple of considerations there. You know, I mean, Iron Will, it used to be really popular even on. There are going to be obvious killers where it's very effective against. You know, Spirit, probably the biggest one. Where it's okay, you see the value. It's quite obvious as to why Iron Will would be so good against the Spirit. But also just against most killers in general. I'm not entirely sure what they're going for with this. Behavior have a tendency to make changes and then kind of just reverse them a bit later on down the line. I think what's the example I bought? Decisive Strike was an interesting one where they had it from it was 5 seconds and then they made it to 3 seconds and then everyone was like, oh, 3 seconds isn't enough, and then they put it back to 5 seconds inexplicably. It's like, okay, but that was a problem, before then finally realizing, okay, maybe 4 seconds. Now that apparently even that's not fully fixed at this point. Quite literally, I saw there was a tweet from Ray, I believe, who posted something about a bug, and this was just after I played a match on Pig where I got hit with Decisive Strike, and I felt like, well, that stun wasn't long at all. There are a couple of killers who just, for some reason, aren't affected that much. I was stunned for 1 second when I was playing Pig. Not sure if anyone else has been having that in their games, but that was strange, very strange. But yeah, I haven't actually had the chance to look at the dev update yet, so I'll make sure to have that on in the background while this game opens up, because we are going to be heading into our first match of the day. Just a reminder that it's going to be the Plague Rejected versus Tamashi. Here's my first question to you, Dyer. How cool do we think these team names are? Because I give a lot of credit to the teams that they can pick whatever names they want, right? We need to give credit to the coolest team name, Rejected or Tamashi. Which is it going to be?
I like them. I also love the logos they have. I love the logo of Rejected, especially. Tamashi has something unique, something special. I feel like when you're looking around the competitive community, you always have something like trauma, agony, sinners, rejected. Like it's all in this kind of field.
So sad.
Yeah, so Tamashi is a little bit of a lightening up there. So I will go with Tamashi on the name and Rejected on the logo. Also, real quick to Noshua, I just read about the empathic connection again. 30% healing bonus is actually an increased bonus right there. So this will be something interesting that our balancing team has to talk about. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with the Plague on the Suffocation Pit. Kozil is going to take the responsibility here for Team Rejected. Tamashi is on the Survivor side with Bye Bye, Silavi, F3, and Daibis. Very unique names. I love the French touch they have on the Dwight. And we do spot the first Survivor very early into the game. Plan was potentially to let the Plague pass and then go towards the downside and go for the generators here. A lot of infection progress is coming in. Nice crouch trick right here, but our killer definitely with a good progress so far on the first Survivor.
You see a little bit of a split in how players like to play. A lot of players would have gotten the infection onto F3 and then just simply ran away to try and find another survivor. Instead, wanted to fully infect F3, but then realizing I have something a bit more valuable here. It's going to be tanking that hit, but it's not going to be really mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. That broken was going to be coming through in about a minute or so anyway. Has brought along this yellow apple add-on, so it's going to have one or two corrupted pools to work with already, and now can start walking around the map, applying some of these regression perks. It's interesting the choice of regression here. Instead of a Ruin Undying combination or Ruin Pentimento combination, we do instead have the Gen Kicking perks, which, while effective, they aren't particularly specialized for Plague, right? The infection comes through on C'est La Vie, and a nice vault of the window is going to be catching them out in a rough position here. We have this power to work, not particularly strong, and yeah, you had to go for some kind of play there if you're the Dwight. Right now, as Plague in power is just in such a commanding position. He's able to dodge out the way at the very last second, though. Turns the corner, but you can't crouch quickly enough. Even with that evasion, you still can't crouch quick enough, unfortunately. Selvi going to be going down early. Now that the survivors are actually beginning to get infected, they are going to commit to the gens. The games will often start off very, very slow against a Plague, as players try to avoid that infection as much as possible. It does eventually get to the point where once you are uninfected, you just think, we ball, right? And then you just carry on with your day.
Absolutely. C'est La Vie, this is life. Really accepting the fate on the first down, and we have so much progress for the Plague here as well. Really good to see this basement hook early on. We have the power for a little bit longer, so the survivors will not really try to rotate right now. We have another pool down here where we can pick the power from, and a somewhat useful 3-gen as well. So definitely looking good. Now we have to check on the survivor side what they are having as a response to generators potentially. Meanwhile, Quentin here lurking towards the bottom side, trying to go for the unhook, the only remaining survivor that is not infected just yet. So a difficult decision coming out for the survivor team as well. You can potentially sacrifice C'est La Vie here, but in this case you will need to get rid of the 3-gen, and only having Quentin on one of these generators will not be enough to achieve that. We would need a double up. The best generator for this is from this perspective to the left side, but now we are also catching an injured survivor, a broken survivor who's only getting this filler pallet here to work with. We're chasing around and then being able to break the pallet with a good timing, zoning the survivor back towards the shack. Now we are able to defend the hook stage and holding this survivor hostage for a short moment, and the understandable tunnel out here for the Plague. You're trying to get the Dwight out as quick as possible. The shack pallet will definitely save the day here a little bit, but Actor, Dwight needs to be on one hell of a run here.
I mean, absolutely. Bounce landing is going to be helping that out just a little bit. And down, making a hell of a lot more distance there. Plague is actually going to chill for just a second to pick up the Corrupt Purge, knowing the stakes of this chase, knowing how badly you want someone dead right now. I mean, you see the Quentin right there, but you don't even want to take that target because you see an injured survivor instead. The Felix in the corner, apparently cosplaying as Neo from the Matrix for just a couple of seconds. Fair play to you, lad, but does go down all the same regardless. Agitation as well means that this comp corner isn't going to be quite as effective. I mean, you have dragged the killer into the corner of the map, but again, still very much within this like shack focused 3-gen. This is the side of the map that the killer wants to try and defend with this generator here, plus the 2 on the corner by shack as well. It's going to be a little bit of a problem. Pop going to be applied here. Still just looking around. You don't really have a reason to be running into the other side of the map if you are the Plague right now. So that's likely not going to be happening unless there is some massive survivor blunder here.
Yeah, absolutely. The survivors need to find a good response now. I feel like they have not decided yet how exactly they want to respond to the setup they are seeing here on the suffocation pit. We're still down there inside of the 3-gen setup. We're not seeing the dynamic to really pull the killer towards the top side. This will be the next mission now, but for now our survivor that we have spotted here is forced to go into the shack once again. So potentially the Plague will be able to defend hook stages for a much longer time in the bottom area of the suffocation pit. The problem is then we really need to get rid of the 3-gen, otherwise we'll keep getting punished. Nice try there with the fake on the window, but this Plague a little bit too experienced to fall immediately for that and swinging too early. Therefore, we are going to stay inside of the 3-gen. The generator progress on the other gens is somewhat reasonable. 65% on this bottom generator here as well. You would wish right now that there would be a double up to get this one out of the way. Interesting though that the Plague decides to use the pop right here next to this generator instead of going back towards the setup down there. And Actor, it feels like we are giving up on our 3-gen.
Yeah, not entirely sure what that is. Maybe it's because you weren't able to get the tunnel out onto RV. Now have your hook stages quite split. I mean, generally, you look at 4 hook stages, you think someone's dead, but no one's actually dead yet. And yeah, that's the 3-gen broken here, for lack of a better term. It is C'est La Vie who did have to go for the save, however, the one who is on death hook. That's pretty interesting from the survivors there. But Bye Bye was on the floor. Dibus was on the other side of the map. They were forced into a really rough spot. So that is going to be the kill coming through onto C'est La Vie. But your 3-gen is now broken. And there's still now this top side of the map has a lot of resources to work with. So you can see the survivors doubling up on a generator in the corner over there. If your survivors here, you want to try and take the killer to this top side of the map as much as possible. And, you know, this gen over at the bottom will be basically completely uncontested. It has been worked on by the survivors a fair bit, but Kozul is going to be running towards it, applying that Pop Goes the Weasel as well to bring it down a significant chunk, make just a little bit harder for the survivors right now. But you have your kill if you're Kozul. It wasn't the cleanest kill, but it's there ultimately.
That was very optimistic, this swing right there. A little bit earlier, it might have worked out, but not like this. We're reaching this pallet over here, trying to drop it as early as possible to make this loop significantly longer. Plague chooses to follow our survivor after getting rid of that pallet here. A little bit of mind gaming now being needed to be successful on this 4-lane. We are making the round. Plague is not going for a closer cutoff on the survivor side, and we are coming to a very nice round again, but we will not reach the pallet, unfortunately, so the next down is coming through. The survivors, however, on the other side going for that double up that we were suggesting earlier, but the Plague senses that, proving the game sense here, going over to that generator and interrupting the survivors in time. The toxic sprint burst here, as we know them from the public games, is going to grant a little bit of safety, and we hopefully abuse it quite a bit because we need some time on the survivor side now.
And you're running on fumes if you're the Plague right now. I mean, it doesn't look great. Never mind, that comes through. That's absolutely massive right now. F3 has to rotate down to the bottom of the map and pick up Dibus right this second, is going to be doing that. And yeah, Plague recognizing that that is likely to happen. So is this going to secure another hook stage? And now the pressure on these survivors is pretty significant because the hook is going to be a lot closer to, yeah, you can see with the use of agitation, bring that hook right over to the heavily progressed generator. Kozul knows that there is no way that a survivor is going to be touching that gen for a hot minute and is going to be going back down. Probably predicting that the survivors are going to be on that gen by the shack instead. And now you're hunting down onto F3, sorry, not F3, Dibus instead. They look very similar through the screen share, don't even worry about it. But yeah, coming through, realizing you have unfinished business with the survivors to deal with, but returning back to your hook, knowing that you have a gen to defend and you have a hook to defend at the same time as well. And you can just stay right near here. You know that none of the gens at the bottom are particularly progress, so you have the time to just kind of sit here, wait for Bye Bye to die, and secure that kill.
And now it's a really, really hard setback for the survivors to take as well, because we were just 15% away on that final generator from being able to go for the exit doors, and now you have to do so much more to get back to this situation again. So the chances for a 4K1 are definitely rising here. If Quentin is playing out of his mind here at the shack, he might be able to give Felix enough time to make up for that. Plague was not expecting this slower vault coming out here, so decided to not go for the swing. We are going to see the vault though, and that's going to force Quentin in the not so luxury rotation around the shack, but we also have this pallet over here. So we still have some resources and we still have the chance to make a good run. Felix can use that F3, potentially cranking that final generator, and there it is, Quentin with an absolute phenomenal chase here on the bottom side, really doing a lot of work for his team, and F3 is going to not care about the team member right here. We will see one stage, hopefully and most likely, walking out of the door here. 11 stages, definitely a rough result for the Survivor team. On the other hand, we have seen a lot of Plagues getting a 4K due to all the pressure you can set up, due to multiple people being broken, all the injuries that you cannot heal. So a 4K would also be possible. So the fact that Tamashi is taking the out here is definitely great for them. A good start.
You could see the impacts of the recent adrenaline changes coming in there, right? Now, of course, you're not going to be healed up. You aren't going to be healed up because you're broken against a plague, right? But generally, you get, or before recently, you would have gotten 5 seconds of speed boost after that. Now you only get 3, right? 2 extra seconds of that massive speed boost means that there would have been an opportunity for Dibis to run all the way back into the map, right? Run all the way back to the center. Potentially, there's a line in which the gate gets opened and then all the survivors can escape, right? But because you didn't get that time, Quentin wasn't really able to make it anywhere with the speed boost, could just delay the inevitable a little bit longer. It then also didn't help that he ended up running back into the killer at Shack, but that's more incidental, right? But regardless, it was a nice idea to play for the adrenaline, utilize that speed boost, but against a plague, the fact that you're still injured anyway, it was always going to be a little bit of a struggle. But big credit to the plague there. Did a pretty good job. Very nicely done game.
Yeah, absolutely. 11 stages being a great result for the plague. On the other hand, for the survivors, you can definitely make something work with that, because now you're sending in your killer and you just need to make sure that you don't have any survivor escaping. And in the Scrim Nights, it's not like Season 9, so you don't have to hand in your perks beforehand. So we might see the good old comp where you are adjusting your perk build based on the win condition. We might see something like a No Way Out. We might see something like a Know It, because it's also not rare that survivors are going to fully cleanse after that final generator has been done to gain some safety in the end game there and an additional stage. So we might see something like this to meet up with them. Do these teams contest only on DBD, or do they contest in other games too? As far as I'm aware, these two teams are only competing in DBD. But maybe they are multi-talents.
Potentially.
And you will see them later in Bus Simulator, trying to get the high score.
Bus Simulator. Why Bus Simulator? Of all major esports titles you could have chosen, you went with Bus Simulator.
Yes, because I'm edgy.
You have an intriguing mind, Mr. Direwolf.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But yeah, anyway, I got up. I've actually gotten up the dev update. You haven't read through it, have you?
A little bit. Let's say I looked briefly on some details.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean,
I didn't read the night, though. I don't like the night.
I mean, the main killers are being updated on night, where, from what it seems, he's getting, like, a lot of kind of quality of life buffs, but the main point is that you can manually swap between guards so that you can, choose the right one for the right occasion, right? Because, to be honest, before, it was generally just bring map of the realm, pop down a guard to either, look at a generator or where a survivor's going to be to make the chase harder for him, right? Now the fact you can manually choose between guards means that you can actually use them in a more tactical way, right? You can use that Khan effects to break through pallets. You can use the jailer to actually patrol. You can use the assassin to actually help you in chase. So that seems like a pretty interesting change. Kids Got a Juice says, how do I get involved in comp DBD play? Play a lot of DBD. That's probably the first one. Get very good at it. I would say probably the 1v1 ladder. Shameless plug, I know, but DBDL 1v1 ladder is probably the best place to kind of hone your skills. And then in this server as well, you should also be able to find like-minded players who want to form a team. And then, of course, you can just practice, play together, scrim together, continue grinding the ladder, and yeah, keep at it. That's how it generally is. Find a lot of people who like the game, play it together a lot, and you'll get there.
Perfect time to emphasize again, if you have any questions today, we are on no delay, so definitely use the chance, especially for things like how do I get into comp DBD, especially as Actor says, the 1v1 and a very high laugh for the game is really needed, because comp DBD can be really rough, especially when you just mastered a character or you just mastered a perk combination and then comes a dev update and you have to learn it again. One thing I find interesting, I have to say that it's something I feedbacked publicly towards behavior in the past. I'm always stunned how huge they go or how drastic they go on their balance changes and how they label that for themselves. And the best one for me is it was not this one. Which one was it? They made, here, Babysitter. They label this as a minor update, right? Minor update. And then they are saying we are changing the duration of the haste and pools of blood hiding to 30 seconds was 8. So they just quadruple the effect a perk has plus 400% of benefit, and they label this as a minor change. And my theory is that this is the reason why DBD has a problematic balance, because not only do we receive 400% difference on one specific perk, we are doing a huge, we are throwing so many perks in with so many effect updates and such huge effect updates that it's difficult afterwards to determine what effect was problematic now. What did we overtune? What works together? Like when they adjusted pop and pain res and grim and everything at the same time. How do you, and when a killer is now throwing everything together, how do you really see what perk was problematic now? And they are always making these huge changes to a perk, and then they say, yeah, this is a minor update, but plus 400%. And you don't see changes like this in any other game. If you're looking in Counter-Strike, if you're looking in PUBG and Overwatch, you see plus 10% here, plus 5% here. They are making minor adjustments. And behavior, I feel like sometimes is saying, hey, we got a new game for you. It's like, yeah. Anyway, we are on bye-bye, so we're not going offline, but at least we are watching bye-bye on the Plague. Win condition is getting all survivors before they are able to leave the exit doors.
Yeah, I mean, simple as that. If they can do that, that's a win. We were talking about how in the last matchup, our killer did go for the 11th stage instead of the 12th stage. I think that the killer could have probably gotten 12 stages, right? Probably could, after the first down, could have gone over to the exit gates, checked on them a bit, but it is a scrim, and kind of realizing it would have been slightly tedious, as odd as that sounds, which it does sound strange, I do agree, but recognizing it will probably just be tedious to get the 12 stages, mentally they're probably just considering that a 12-stage game, right? This is a scrim, so we aren't really keeping score in the traditional sense. Obviously, there will be a team that wins more sets, more likely, or maybe they draw everything or something like that, but that kind of thing right there, as this Claudette is actually running this really well and just dodging through the corrupt. This is the issue. This is the style of Plague where you can see with the build, it's highly aggressive. It has access to a lot of corruption pools very early on, but those pools ain't worth a damn thing if you ain't actually hitting the survivor with it. That is going to finally be first out onto the Claudette, but think of how much time this is buying for the rest of the survivors. Corrupt should be going offline relatively soon, as a life is going to be coming in as well to not really make distance away from the... Oh my, the read there. That's crazy. That you can tell this survivor has played against Plague a lot before and has fallen for that exact move too many times to make that mistake again. Dodging back before going through the pallet, recognizing that the Plague is going to predict that, just chef's kiss gameplay right there. This is a really good run coming through. The power has been running out here for the Plague. Yeah, it's going to be breaking the pallet in a pretty good position, but this middle map is really brutal to play for most killers. And you can see that right now, when you don't have a power to work with. Claudette is just, like, producing more juice than Minute Maid right now. This is insane, dude.
Yeah, Claudette is causing a lot of damage here to the killer. This is a horrific run for the Plague at the beginning. We might see more than one generator flying for this. That if they were spreading individually, we might see all 3 generators being completed here in a second. And Claudette does actually reach the pallet over here. We do not even have the infection yet on anyone or anything. We haven't set it up on the generators properly. We haven't been able to puke on some survivors that were potentially rotating while being in the chase. And honestly, we might need to think if dropping the survivor wouldn't be the better idea here.
I mean, like, it's so strange on Killer. You know, sunk cost fallacy is a very real thing. I've been chasing the survivor for so long. Surely there's nothing to work with now. There is still a drop pallet here. You can choose to break it, but it connects perfectly into the shack window.
Jesus.
And Setaro not even going to be, just going to be playing it like this, and then wins that. Wins that as well. What's happening? 3 gens. The killer has been run for 3 gens, potentially 4. You have another pretty good pallet to work with, which is going to be instantly broken. Bloodlust is reset because of the pallet break. You can run more, but that is run for 4. Could this be a 5-gen run? I genuinely think this is possible. You do only have this window to work with right now. The pallet was used and broken earlier, which Plague is going to be double vaulting through. You get yourself a little bit more time here, a little bit more distance. I truly think we could be seeing a 5-gen run right now, Dyer.
The thing what I don't understand is, Actor, why are we committing to this Claudette? Why are we committing to this Claudette? We haven't puked on the gens. This is what the Plague is usually doing. We haven't defended the generators. We haven't checked on the generators. All we are doing is running after one Claudette, like the Claudette burned our house, and now we are looking for revenge. The adrenaline coming out as well. Why is this happening, Actor? I really don't understand this. This is so far away. Like, sorry if this sounds a little bit too negative, but this was so far away from a comp Plague and what we usually see. We haven't infected a single survivor the entire trial.
Oh my god. Crying now. Every generator is done. You are now going for the infect. I mean, you're... Survivor's not even going to be dropping the pallet. Just going to be avoiding the infect. I mean, all that Bye-Bye could really do there was hope and pray that they find the obsession with Rancor, which just isn't going to be doing anything. Claudette's back to just rub the victory in the killer's face. What the hell is that?
Wow.
What was that? Claudette just ran for 5 gens. Plague never dropped chase. Like, did a little bit of infection at the very start. Committed with the double apple add-on. Had 1 use of the power, which did nothing basically. I don't have words. I need a shower after that game. That's disgusting. My god.
Yeah, just to answer a question in chat, no, this Plague did not pick that killer. We have to use that as a defense, but this can still not happen. It cannot happen that we are not puking on a single generator, and it cannot happen that we are not infecting the survivor team, ignoring the generators that are supposed to be repaired, and just hold W after a Claudette the entire trial. This can just not happen. And if Tamashi is hearing this, please note that down. This is an honest feedback, but this cannot happen. Especially in competitive DBD, I would say there are three main pillars that you have to do. First is you kind of want to pick your ideal setup, like a 3 or 4 gen, an area of the map where you want to have most of the game playing. Then you're trying to zone the survivors there. You're trying to get the hook stages there. This might not work, but this is a fundamental plan you're shaping for the trial. The second thing is you want to use your power. And actor, we haven't seen that. We could have played Evan here in this case. And third is you want to find, like, you want to...
Evan would have been better. At least maybe like you put a trap at like
some traps, right?
And like, maybe catch someone out on the corner. I don't know. Like, dude, that was like Plague thought we were in the 1v1 ladder, but we're not. We're not in the 1v1 ladder. We're in a comp game. What's happening? I don't know.
Someone in
we are
state
being,
0.
we are being harsh. We do understand. Obviously, there's meant to be no disrespect, but I think even Bye after that performance will probably look at that one and say that wasn't a great day at the office. It's just unfortunate for Bye that today's bad day at the office, instead of just like most of us in a solo queue game after like 50 hours on the game, is instead, live on DBDL in front of, a couple hundred people watching. It's kind of unfortunate in that sense. But
I agree.
You live and you learn, right? You live and you learn.
I agree, and sometimes it is a hard line for us as well, right? Because obviously we do want to make sure that we are providing feedback, and I think here feedback is very fair, but we also understand that when you just got 0 stage, then the last thing you need is 2 casters throwing salt in the wound by pointing out the mistakes once again. On the other side, we also have the audience that we want to explain it to. So yeah, as Actor says, really important. It's obviously not meant as a disrespect at all, but I do feel like some criticism after a trial like this is really needed also for the necessary improvement that we have to expect there. Yeah, definitely a very, very rough start for Tamashi. Rejected will celebrate down there. They 11 staged on killer side, then they 0 staged on the survivor side. You couldn't have a higher momentum going into the next trial, and the problem is we are staying on the survivor side on team Rejected. So this survivor team just got a 0 stage perfect game and will now play survivor straight again. And honestly, for a set like Artist, you really need confidence. So they're going to be dangerous as hell.
Artist, of course, is a kill that we did see last weekend. I believe we got 2 tied sets on the Artist, which was very fun to deal with. I mean, Artist has kind of been sussed out. At the highest level, it is to a degree. To a degree, it's just solo queue but amplified, right? People recognize that Artist is very good in chase, has good map pressure as well, but has limited catch-up mobility, right? Not very good at catching up to survivors, like say a Wesker or an Oni with power or something like that, right? So it is just sort of a hold M1 situation, go to a corner of the map so that you don't bother the other survivors too much. The Artist will be throwing out birds. Ruin Pentimento is quite a popular combination because with the birds you can protect the totems and you can harass the generators from a distance away as well, force the survivors to keep getting off of them, to keep them constantly regressing. If they do manage to get one of the totems, then that permanent slowdown is going to be even slower when they have to get off the gen every few seconds to get the birds off of their face, right? Artist has kind of been sussed out as to how it will be playing. There is still a lot of room for skill expression, however. It's just lessened so because Artist is the strengths are so strong and the weaknesses are so exploitable at a high level that we will likely be seeing some relatively similar gameplay. That being said, these are new teams. They could make it very interesting for us. And of course, it has been made very interesting for us in the past as well. And it isn't Ghostface, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, this is always important to not have a Ghostface set on the Scrim Nights or weekends actor as casting, because otherwise we have to pay the bill for the Doctor afterwards.
Please, man. I've done too many tied up Ghostface sets in my life. I don't want to watch someone hit stand in a corner for 20 minutes, bro. I'm sorry.
Understandable, though.
Just a little bit. Yeah, we are going to be getting a very aggressive first chase coming in through. Tries to get the hit through to Nancy, but barely whiffing that one. And we do have a not so fun bus here to be working with, but it's actually going to be left here. Again, the less time you can spend in the loopers, okay, nice hit coming through there. The less time you can spend in the loop against the artist, the better, right? Whenever that power gets used, it's slowed down just a little bit longer. Going to be dodging up the birds there, dropping the shack pallet, running all the way over to this corner of the map. Has to have communicated to the rest of the survivors to rotate away from the position already, and that is a good cleanse of the ruin, nice and early on. Honestly, I find that even though you know that you may have a Pentimento to deal with, it is always worth it against an artist to get rid of that ruin early. You know that you're going to be fighting a 3v1 relatively quickly, and the fact that provided that you pressure out the gens enough, the 30% slowdown is of course substantial, but you can still keep working through it, right? When there's a ruin, and there's pressure on all the survivors at once, then the gens are actively going backwards, right? Whereas with the Pentimento, they're just a lot slower to be progressing, right? Now we are going to be from Last Prey, is just going to be chilling right here. Has the hook, has the generators nearby on lock as well. Does end up actually spotting the Yuri over working on this far side gen, but isn't going to be doing anything about it for the time being.
Also, to answer the question in chat about the reasonable expectation for artists in DBDL, it's usually somewhere between 7 and 9 stages. We did see some 4Ks with artists as well, but 9 stages I would say is an okay result. Vecna and Comp, to touch on the second message as well, will be difficult though, because it's a lot of RNG in there, so we would need to see if we are forbidding the chests or something like this.
The killer literally has a dice roll built into the kit, and the idea of balancing is to get rid of RNG as much as possible. For people who say things like, why can't you self-unhook? Why can't you use chests? Why can't you use chests? Things like that. Things such as that in Comp DBD. The idea isn't necessarily that they're inherently problematic parts of the game. I don't think that anyone is complaining about the existence of code bees or the existence of chests in DBD, but instead it's a lot more of a the more RNG that we can eliminate, the better situation, because that's what makes an esport good, where it is just expressions of player and team skills. That is actually going to be cancelled there, so the trade is going to be coming out. Last Prey isn't going to be wanting to actually get this exchange, is going to try and get this Nancy out of the game. Does have a balanced landing, however, but as I was saying before, it's all about getting rid of RNG. So trying to balance Vecna, whose kit is designed partially around RNG, is going to be a little bit ludicrous.
Also, while we are watching Nancy trying to figure this out, I always love this during community nights when we have no delay, towards Burst Joey, who came in and called the killer a bot. First of all, we are having a practice night here, and I do think it's taking a lot to step up on a stage and against an in front of an audience, and having the courage to show off what you're currently practicing. This first of all, so enjoy your 5-minute timeout. But when you come back at the end of the stream, why don't you play with your killer against Team Rejected on the survivor side, and we will see on the artist, on the Wrecker's Yard, what the result will be. I have offered it to a lot of people that are coming in with such comments, and they never respond afterwards, and they never come out on the stage, because then they are always hiding. Then they go on Twitter and cook some stuff there. And it's so disrespectful to come up here and tell people that are saying, we are currently practicing and we are showing that and we are having the courage to call them out. So Joey, in 3 minutes your time out is over. At the end of the Scrim Night, we are expecting you on the Artist against Rejected. I'm sure they will be very happily playing against you. Back to the game and the end of the speech about sportsmanship and what values we have in DBDL. We have one generator remaining. Story is on the hook. 2 survivors are now with the responsibility of continuing here. We have 1 injured survivor though, which is a little bit risky, and you need to watch out for the snipes that are potentially coming in. Actually, the biggest problem I see here at the moment is also that the Pentimento is located right next to the hook. The killer now decides to get away from it, but you can still shoot the crows back towards the totem. So basically, you can camp the Jake right now, while being sure that the generator will not be completed, at least with the highest speed.
Yeah, I mean, you know, despite having such poor mobility, Artist still has great map pressure, and yeah, it's actually going to be finding... I'm not even sure that was aimed at the Pentimento totem. I think that was just a stray hit coming through onto the... just a stray hit coming through onto the Yuri here. Story is going to be hitting second stage right now. The chase is going to be coming through onto our, Jesus Christ, Steve instead. Jesus Christ, my brain's not working today. Unfortunate, but yeah, getting the chase through onto the Steve instead. Stoning him all the way to the corner, and Last Prey doesn't really want any of that smoke. If you can get your kill, if you can get your 2-stage Jake out of the game immediately, you're going to be doing that, right? And that's why we see the continuous harassment with these birds from a long distance. Going through onto the loop here is going to be playing it pretty well. Does actually get the birds through onto the Yuri, who is up right now. And now you're zoning Yuri away. You just have this shotgun blast of birds, and that is going to be working out to get the down in the corner here. Not a kill, but a hook stage is still good. It means that this is time that survivors cannot be spending on the generators. Again, it is a lot of the time it is a toss-up of whether you opt to get rid of the ruin or just deal with the Pentimento instead, of which one you actually want to be dealing with. However, I will maintain that against Artist, the Pentimento is kind of the best of a worst choice, right? Because at least the gens are not actively regressing in situations like this. So I was actually going to be splitting gen pressure here. Interesting decision. Going to be seeing whether that works out for them. You do have a shack to work with, but you also have some birds on your face right now. What are you going to do about that one, Steve?
Steve with the lock attack here to get rid of it as quick as possible. Game is slowing down a lot here. Whenever you have lost 1 survivor, your efficiency is really dropping down. And then on top of that, we have the 20% speed reduction penalty at the moment. Trying to get them with some additional birds, at least they are able to dodge these. But this is a very rough situation right here. Second stage now on the hook. No speed possible on the generators. Killer is now letting go of the hook, is happy to let them take the unhook here, going for the next survivor instead. Needs to watch out though that he's not getting dragged too far away from the 3 generator setup, since we are playing on 1/2 of the wrecker's yard at the moment. Jake doing a good job though, taking the outside of the loop, delaying that injury as much as possible. Unfortunately now taking the injury with the crows though, but we do see that the other team members are back onto the generators. Artist though expects this as well, but at least the Pentimento will fall 20% back onto the generators here. Steve even standing there for an additional 3 seconds, staring down the totem, saying, I got you. And now we are going to see the second survivor dying in a moment, and then Maddox and Story really in a rough spot. They might want to start considering taking 1 survivor out, playing for the 4K1, and then breaking the tie due to the escape in the upcoming trial. What do you think, Actor, here?
I don't feel like they get this last generator done. Story's dead on hook and injured. and is just going to be hounded down by the Artist, is not going to let that pressure relent. All these other generators are going to continue to be checked on, and I mean, you got 3 crows, you got 3 gens to protect, right? Just a quick reminder, Steve does not currently have the birds on him. This is just a bit of a visual bug because spectating isn't cool enough, I suppose. Trying to get to this loop here, it's actually going to be eating the birds there just to try and stop them from getting the injury instead. It's going to buy a little more time, but not enough space to actually leave the loop, and you will be paying for that very dearly with your life. Story on the other side of the map is going to try and just bully out this generator. You have no reason to not continue to commit to it, because remember that gens are the main win condition, right? So, Story, you stick with the gen, and it doesn't sound like the heartbeat is too close to you, so you are going to get this last generator done as well. And that's actually the adrenaline onto the Steve as well. So now you have both survivors. They're injured. They may be down, but they are not out just yet. And also, Steve has, I believe, either maybe resilience or memory, something to get that gate open slightly faster. Unfortunately, does get pounded down by the Artist here. But this has bought time for Story on the other side of the map to pursue the other X game instead. Because look how far away it is from this current one. I mean, likely a bird is going to be hitting onto Jake here. Nice dodge at the last second as well. And now it's just a matter of time. Are you able to commit to this? Get it all the way out? It's going to be by the skin of your teeth? Not quite. I mean, the idea was there, right? You have all of your generators done, and on the survivor side, considering the position you were put in early in the game, you're pretty happy with that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. This is something that you can be really, really okay with, getting that additional generator, because now the win condition drastically changing. We need a survivor escaping the trial, which is always allowing you in the upcoming game to go for an end game run, keeping all the five survivors, maybe even when a team is really strong. But keeping all 4 survivors in the trial, then you at least have the tie condition. So it does allow your killer to go for something in the end game in case they had a rough trial here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was we were saying, I feel like 4Ks are not completely uncommon on Artist. This case, it's actually going to be the 4K, so 12 stages, but 5 generators completed. That's something a little bit new. You were saying, as you said earlier, 7 to 9 stages being the norm. It's interesting because in the matches that I saw, they were almost always exclusively 4Ks. And I have to sneeze, so for a
This is a long sneeze.
this
man is suffering.
Bless me, I'm welcome. Anyway, anyway, back to DVD. So, I mean, yeah, Artist is going to be pretty strong. It's all about how quickly you can get that first down, to be honest. The survivors are going to just... The survivor that isn't being actively tunneled out of the game is just going to be sitting on those gens in the other side of the map, right? The targeted survivor is going to run to a corner and go down there, be camped to death. Happens to the best of us, right? That being said, there are also still some nuances with that. So, for instance, a big thing on the survivor side is actually timing your unhooks. Oftentimes in public matches, when someone gets hooked, our first instinct is just run straight over there, wait for the killer to leave, and just drag them off the hook, right? Now, the killer isn't going to be leaving that easily, right? So you need to make a judgment call as to, okay, well, how long am I actually going to let the survivor hang for? Because after you unhook someone, you start that 10-second endurance countdown, and after that, they're just free pickings again, right? So there's no reason to be getting the unhook immediately after the survivor's just been hooked, right? Instead, you can maximize time. In a perfect world, you let them hang for, just about a minute, just before that second stage point, and then you get the unhook, right? Because then you've stopped another hook stage, so this is going to be extra time the killer has to spend downing the survivor, picking him up, putting him back on a hook again. And also, it means that you've burnt 50 seconds, because that's 50 seconds of the survivor just hanging. This isn't something where this is time that the killer is likely just going to be hovering around the hook. so the gens on the other side of the map, they aren't being pressured out, right? So that's just more time being bought in the early game. Small but very subtle differences.
Indeed. Indeed, actor. People pray emote for this. I full-heartedly agree. To Joey, welcome back. We appreciate the apology about being a little bit too toxic, especially when you're not playing killer yourself and even say that you would get 4 outed, then maybe be easy on these people that are trying to get better and playing on stage. Appreciate it though. We can forget about it. All good and settled. Meanwhile, we are setting up the upcoming game. On the Artist will be very interesting to see how they're going to continue here. We are going to see Bye-Bye, Last Prey, F3, and Dibis once again coming out here. So yeah, let's see how Artist is coming out this time. We definitely saw how punishing it can be if you allow the killer to have this hook stage and the hex totem together, right? The fact that we had the minus 20% next to the hook and a killer like Artist who can reach you from a distance, who doesn't need to be around the hook necessarily all time to defend their property, is really, really something that came in clutch here, and tells us also with how much you need to work in terms of predicting the future. The Survivor team needs to figure out where's the 3-gen, where's the 4-gen, where's a difficult setup potentially that the killer can abuse, and for the killer goes the same. You're loading into the match and you have to decide, where do I want to have my hook stages? Which generators do I want to keep an eye on? And then according to this plan, you're really trying to make the game fall into your advantage. This is something that is at the same time your main goal. At the other hand, the sometimes toughest challenge that you can face. Chucky matches are not so often played at the moment because we don't have them in the pool.
Boo.
Yeah, actor.
Boo. I was going to answer the question, and then I'm also going to say boo. I mean, like, okay, is Chucky like a bit annoying? Yes. Is it a nightmare to balance? Yes. However, it's just a little guy, right? It's just a goofy little guy who says his funny little words, which would get us demonetized off Twitch, right? Just chilling, you know, having a good time in Dead by Daylight. So honestly, it's like 1984 all over again. You know, we can't have our little guy running around the map being so funny and goofy all the time. And I do not like you for that, Dyer. So I want you to apologize to me personally.
That's okay. That's totally okay. And we are going into trial number 4 with the Artist and the Wrecker's Yard. Very quick change indeed. Let's see. Win condition, if you all remember, will be taking an out here. So Tamashi needs all the 5 generators and at least 1 stage out of the door. The good news is you don't have to worry about how many people walking outside of the door. You don't have to worry about if this is a fresh survivor or someone who has been hooked twice before. First chase on to Jake. We have the injury and the crows right after. This will be a difficult loop to deal with the Artist. Unfortunately, this crow was a little bit too optimistic. I understand we want to have the very quick down, but it's going to be in Jake's favor here. We are going to take another turn and delaying it for quite some time here.
Yeah, and also just going to be leaving the loop, and this is just textbook play against the Artist. Are you going to be going down? Yes, but it is in the comp corner. Agitation has been bought here, so it's very clear how important it is to actually put your gens in prime positions. And there we see it, the early double up on that first gen. I mean, the analysis there is always very simple to make. It gives you a strong start in the early game, but it could affect your pressure in the mid game. It seems mostly more effective against these kind of higher tier killers who are going to get their downs quickly, you know? Against a low tier killer where the first chase can last quite a while, it's probably better to have the other survivors splitting their pressure on the gens, but against an Artist, that's not really going to matter, right? And there we're going to be seeing that unhook coming through relatively quickly, but it does also apply a lot of the babysitter effects, but it runs out just in the nick of time for the artist right there. And it's what I was saying earlier about your unhook timings, right? I mean, Bye-Bye certainly could have hung for less time, but certainly could have hung for a little bit longer as well. If you had left it slightly more, then maybe this generator over here would have some more progress onto it as well, but that's all just hearsay at this point, all just rumors right now, because it is the pressure that's going to be coming out onto Divis. Just going to be waiting here, happy to pressure out this Quentin until a play gets made with this hook onto Bye-Bye, right? If you're able to, you know, keep this survivor occupied in the very corner, that's great for you. You get the injure for the people play is going to be coming through from last prey, so Setsu recognizing, okay, I'm not going to get the tunnel out onto Bye-Bye. I just have to try and deal with this survivor instead. Place the birds a little too close to the pallet, so that meant that Quentin could actually walk into them and not eat the injure, but ultimately, what's done is done, a down is a down, and a hook is a hook.
Absolutely, and that means that we are going back towards the question, how far is the generator progress on the survivor side? The answer is we have one generator with 50% and another one started, but besides that, our artist definitely having a little bit of additional time. We do have our For the People hero here. That's going to be a very important chase because you really don't want to have a second down while your other team member is still on the hook. Good and quick save there onto the Quentin. Last play now in a difficult position here, needs to outplay the artist. That's not going to work out on this filler pallet. Important though still, they got Bye-Bye safe. There's no incoming elimination. They are staying with 4 survivors for now. A fresh hook here, also meaning that we have 2 minutes of hang time before we would lose a survivor. A snipe though, and now we have an important information where the survivor we are looking for is located. Bye-Bye is receiving 2 snipes in a row, using the locker to quickly get rid of that. Mind game on the window does not work, so we're taking a crow here as well, going for the M1 through the window while having the crow still active. That was a 2-tap of doom.
Oh my god, I mean, F3 is going to be shaking their fist at that one. That is not a clip that you want to be sending to the family. Hey guys, I'm making it in pro DBD, and the pets look disappointingly. What's DBD? I thought you were going to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. And then you say, never mind, mum. Anyway, Setsu is putting in a clinic on the artist right now, but this is a very strong survival performance playing as a team. Right now, you can see 5 hook stages and 0 kills. This is great, and even better, you only have 1 person dead on hook right now. That is Bye-Bye, who is not going to be sent to do anything risky at all right now, you know? Is going to be briefly tapping gens, perhaps in the corner of the map, and nothing else, right? Bye-Bye is the golden goose right now, the one who cannot die, right? Divis, last prey, they can get downed, they can get hooked, that just isn't a problem, right? F3 can hang here for until the cows come home, right? But it is Bye-Bye who just cannot be here, you know? Bye-Bye cannot be going down here. Just to explain earlier, to the person who was asking how survivors can get how survivors are getting injured. If the crow hits at close range, then it is an injure. Simple as that. You don't have to be already afflicted with the crows for the close range to injure. If you are afflicted with crows, then they'll injure you no matter where they hit you from.
And now we are finding back our Quentin, who was rescued earlier quite quickly. Good still that Bye-Bye is nowhere to be found, but we need to worry about F3 because the killer now taking this injury here of the rotating survivor, not allowing the unhook, and now, we have the scratch marks there going for it. Is it going to be a healthy or an injured survivor? Our artist surprisingly chilling after seeing these scratch marks, not rotating immediately. F3 being on the hook here for just a few additional seconds. Crow coming in clutch here as well, sniping on the generator. Bye-Bye sitting on the other side of the map, trying to hide their full reset, so they are giving up on F3. We can see the camp meter has been fully awarded, but the survivors are not allowed to take it in DBDL, so it's going to be not F3, it's just going to be a huge F for this survivor now being eliminated. Though the reset will be really important when we are talking about going for that final generator. We have again a 3-gen like in the previous trial. We are again playing on one half of the Wrecker's Yard, but the difference is this time actually we are still having a Hex Ruin in play.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I was talking about. It's the nightmare situation for survivors. It makes sense in the early game why you would ignore Ruin. When you only have one survivor being chased and the killer isn't actively harassing you off the generators, then why would you cleanse the Ruin? You just want to get the gens done. That's your job as a survivor, right? But the later that you get into the game, you get into this 3v1 situation as a nice hit comes through onto Last Prey there. The longer the time goes on, I mean, the worse things get, because suddenly with 3 survivors, you are not able to constantly apply pressure to the generators, right? Now, this is Last Prey going down all the way in the corner, so we're going to be seeing whether this has bought any time for Dibis to for Dibis and Bye-Bye to work on these gens, but the answer is no. The answer is they just haven't. Bye-Bye's gen is only barely hitting 50% now. Dibis here hiding for the unhook, and this really is just a nightmare situation for the survivors to have to work with.
We can only hope that they're... I mean, they were resetting in that area earlier, right? Maybe this is now becoming really difficult because they think they haven't seen the Hex Totem over there, and now they will not go back and checking on it. So, not entirely sure what's the... Oh, that's a very, very nasty hit right there. The double strike coming out, and Adam is going to stay alive, somehow pulling a wonder here. Eventually, though, Last Prey is going down, but the killer doesn't have the time to go for the pickup at the hook stage. We are in the need to make it over towards the generators here and checking that the 3-gen is not being progressed. Hex Ruin is doing so much work here and causing such a damage for the survivor team. We really, really need this Hex Totem in a situation where you only have 3. Right now, only even 2 survivors to go for the generators, and the killer constantly being able to chase your team off the gens. You really need to get rid of this Hex Totem. Actor, I would even say, with this Hex Totem being cleansed, comes the decision of a winner or being the loser here.
I mean, it has to be, right? Ruin simply cannot pick up if you realistically want to complete these gens, but also, the damage may have already been done, to be honest, Dyer, as that's going to be getting closer and closer to Bye-Bye. Eventually gets the injure through, but the game plan is still on. A reassuring look to the corner, says Setharu, as you go back to these generators and pressuring them out. Again, wouldn't you just love for the progress on... Wouldn't you just love to keep progressing this generator through, but you are going to be bullied off of it by the artist instead, making a lot of distance, which is good fundamentals here from Dibis. And again, yeah, why would you even play the loop against the killer? You do not have to do that at all. You get back to the gen, which has just been, again, permanently regressing this entire time. It honestly doesn't seem like survivors have a lick of interest in getting rid of this ruin. I say that, actually, but we are going to be fighting Dibis, the only healthy survivor in this corner, so definitely sent them in the right direction. Can you get a little bit of a ludicrous in right here? Not quite. Setharu is just going to be carrying on this chase right now, before again realizing, okay, this is where the game plan lies back on the generator. So survivors right now doing a little bit of guerrilla warfare, you know, only taking the fights that they need to, running away when the enemy gets near. This is good fundamentals, but the ace in Setharu's hole is still the Hex Ruin, and they clearly have shown a lot of hesitance to get rid of it. So we're going to be seeing whether it means a whole lot here.
Yeah, and these injuries will cause another difficult decision now, right? Will you go for the full reset, as it seems like, on the price of generator progress though? Because now the Hex Ruin will kick in again, and the artist just found the reset location. If she saw all 3 survivors, then she knows that she has a little bit of time for committing to a chase here, and the chosen target will be Quentin, who is unfortunately running back towards the 3-gen that we are trying to defend, and is going down next to the 3-gen we're trying to defend, allowing the Artist now to take a hook stage inside of the gens we are defending. And with that, I don't want to be drawing a bad future here, but I think this is a mistake that drastically impacts the game here, Actor, because now the Artist will be able to watch over the gens plus the hook stage. We still have the Hex Ruin in play. You can basically eliminate this survivor for free while making sure that the generators are not being touched. I see them being on a 2v1 very soon with still the same generator being left to be repaired.
The crazy thing in all this is that Quentin is still not dead. I mean, the hook stages have been split perfectly here, right? This is the pub player's dream, right? You know, little tunneling, little camping. It's a fair game with fair perks on a fair-ish killer, and it's going to be working out here for Zetaru, getting the hook in the midst of this 3-gen right now, and what can you really do if you're survivors right here? You know, the hook is going to be pressured out. Every gen is going to be continually flocked with birds. Last Prey is just going to be running in. He's actually going to be getting the hook through, getting the birds onto everyone right now. It's a damn, I believe a murder of crows is the term that they use in the industry, right? Everyone is going to be birded up right now. Divis pressured out into the very corner of the map on account of the birds. Hit with them again, though. Right now, Zetaru is just absolutely unrelenting with this, and zones bye-bye away from the pallet as well. And finally, after such a fair game, that's going to be fair, quote-unquote, the kill is going to be coming through onto someone. My goodness.
Yeah, very unfortunate situation for our survivor team right here. One injured, one healthy. Will we smash through generator number 5? That's the very big question that we are facing here at the moment. Last Prey doing a good job trying to drag the Artist away from the generators. It is honestly very, very tough here that Hex Ruin has not been cleansed, because the Wrecker's Yard does not have the wildest totem spawns, and the Hex Ruin is also not located right inside of the generators where you would be really, really careful to go for. So the fact that these survivors haven't found Hex Ruin yet is, for me, the only explanation I have. They were resetting there earlier, they didn't see the Hex Ruin, and now they really think that the Hex Totem cannot be there in this area. This is the only explanation I have, but with 2 survivors, it's certainly very, very hard to go for the gens here.
I mean, I wish it were an explanation that simple, but the fact of the matter is, Adam was there. Adam was in the corner of the Hex Ruin earlier to go down in the corner, right? We also saw Dibis there earlier, who was just kind of chilling there. I guess maybe was sent there to cleanse the ruin and then just got distracted, I guess. It's, again, I harp on this point a lot, but it's good strategy. Just compare and contrast right now. Obviously, there are a fair few differences between both of these teams, but the survivors in the last round got rid of the ruin nice and early, and yeah, they had a pentimento to deal with, but they got all the gens completed, and they were, by the skin of their teeth, close to actually, you know, getting someone out, denying the killer 12 stages. Versus here, you get to a 3v1 with 1 gen left, like, you can't win. You simply cannot win against an Artist when Ruin is still up and there are 3 generators left. It is just impossible. There is far too much gen pressure as we get to the stare down now of the hatch. Very intense stuff here, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh, put out by our killer today. Not quite a standoff, but, you know, something akin to that for those who remember the hatch standoffs way back when.
Yeah, now we are going to see if we can die to the endgame collapse instead of the killer. That is always the final remaining challenge for the survivors when they are standing last in the trial. We are seeing a little bit of a run here, difficult crow being set up though. Therefore we are taking the run towards the left. Mind game being needed. Adam escapes that, makes it all the way over here where we still have a pallet as well. 1/3 of the endgame collapse already completely gone. The window coming up here, we do have the pallet in reach as well. Honestly, Adam showing us a very wonderful chase here. Unfortunately, though, I don't think that's will be enough, but a nice last run from last prey, but ultimately it is going to be rejected. Going to take the second set point here as well, though Tamashi looking a lot more confident and a lot more excited on this set, and we need to keep in mind that Tamashi picked the artist, so whenever they are familiar with the killer and they are ready and prepared for the killer, they seem to be quite dangerous.
Yeah, vast improvement coming out there from Tamashi. The artist seems to be a killer that they are certainly a lot more familiar with. Not quite winning in the end though. We do have to give a lot of credit to Rejection for that, and they are able to pick their kill for next set spell, which is going to be the Spirit as well. I do believe it is on the same map as well, so you know, I hope we enjoy it. I hope we enjoy being here. But yeah, going to be seeing Spirit come out. This is our first, you know, tier 1 S tier kill that we're going to be seeing, and our first survivor we're going to be seeing very quickly as well. You don't even need to mind game that one. You don't even need to use your power. The moment that you can get your hit through without using your power on Spirit is so good, but it's actually going to be juked out here just a little bit. As it is going to be our Jake running to the corner of the map, stunning up at the perfect time right now. But now starts the 50-50, right? And there are only so many things you can do on Survivor. You know, you can try and run it over to the other pallet, but it's not going to be worth a whole lot for you at all. Agitation. I actually want to ask you about Sky, because it seems like Agitation, a perk which was run perhaps sparingly before, has been a staple for so many killers recently. I just want to ask, what makes you kind of think that that's been entering the meta so much?
Yeah, it's an interesting start for sure here as well, because our Spirit has, first of all, gotten the down relatively quickly. On the other hand, we see very great setup from the Survivor team so far. They're having 50% on the generator right here. We saw the perfect timing there as well. As soon as the Spirit rotated over here, one Survivor was coming in and going for the unhook. So from that perspective, the Survivor side has a lot going for them. Unfortunate though that the next down is coming out very, very quickly afterwards again, though it was for the people player. So we are making sure here that we are not giving the Spirit the chance to go for a tunnel out early on into the game. And honestly, this is the most important strategy here, right? You want to make sure that the time is on your side, and the best way by doing that, because against the Spirit it will be really, really difficult to prevent any downs, is by trading the fresh survivors for each other. This way you are having the gain of hang time onto the hook. Silavi is going to be the next chase, pulling the Spirit all the way towards the outside of the map here, so far away from the generator and the hook stage as well. Wouldn't be surprised if, oh no, F3 is actually over here, not rotating in for the unhook just yet. Does reach the pallet in time though, by rotating over towards the shack, and F3 is getting the unhook just now. Seems like a good coordination so far. Tamashi is getting more and more confident. I really like that.
Where are the gens? Where are the gens? That's my main question right now, as Bye-Bye unfortunately going to be losing out that 50-50. I mean, it happens to the best of us against the Spirit, right? But where are the gens right now? You need to be getting them done. They're resetting instead, which, I mean, I guess you're playing on the safe side here, but you have two hooks, and yeah, they are split right now, but you have no gens done. surely F3's been, been grinding a gen this entire time, has been more than enough time to actually complete one. It's really interesting to see right now. Bye Bye is eventually going to be hounded down. Going down in the corner of the map. That is some eruption gameplay working out right there. And finally interesting to actually see how progress gens are. I mean, the survivors are split. They should get at least one gen for this. Possibly two if Kozol doesn't go to the correct gen right after this one. But with Bye Bye being now dead on hook, that isn't really great progress on the gens for the survivors. So some good pressure being exerted by our Spirit early on here. Waiting at the very last second to apply the eruption. Classic.
Very classic, yeah. Teams and players are always waiting for the final chance and then still taking the value out of the perk when they can. Also, Actor, I haven't asked you this yet, but what does a survivor say when being eliminated on hook? Bye bye. And with that, we are also saying goodbye to our survivor in 30 seconds. And what can we say about such an unfortunate situation? Well, c'est la vie. There's nothing we can do about it. C'est la vie is actually coming in for the rescue here, going to trade to give Bye Bye another run. And now is the question, will it be a Bye Bye? Or will it be a good morning, everyone? This is Team Tamashi and we are grinding. And the answer is so far we are grinding. Another generator being completed and our Jake being on a good run here. We have a pallet right here and we are trying to chain it into the edge map pallet as well. So 2 more chances for Jake to waste time from the Spirit. I feel like he was hearing that the Spirit came from that side, but the reaction time unfortunately being a little bit too slow right here. 2 injured survivors, if I saw that correctly. We are having a reset in the distance that will be very useful for the team crew. That needs to be careful though, because we are kind of around the killer here.
I mean, Dire, I don't like you for the wordplay you were just using. That being said, forgive and forget, we move on, right? I mean, yeah, it's so strange having to face off against a Spirit because you have that directional phasing, kinda, but how often it really helps is very dependent game by game, right? Sometimes it's like you can perfectly track the Spirit's movements just based on the audio perfectly. That is going to be Divest. I believe using a dead art there quite effectively just to survive for a little bit longer. So we're gonna miss there from our Spirit today, but sometimes that audio does absolutely nothing at all. It's going to be stunned up as well. Divest does have the decisive strike as well, so it's clear that this is the quote-unquote tunnel out survivor, right? Generally you assign someone with dead art and decisive strike, meaning that after they get unhooked and are continuously bullied out and chased, they have a dead art to extend the chase and a decisive as well to get them back off of the killer's shoulders when they do come off the hook. Of course, decisive not being used the first time here by Divest, but does have an opportunity to use it if they get tunneled out now. So in a weird way, you'd actually like Divest to take some pressure immediately from the killer, right? Because then you have time to use that decisive, waste even more time, get more of these generators done. We do have another gen going down over here. This one not being completed all the way, unfortunately, from C'est la vie, Mr. La Vie, I'd say, but that would be my father's name instead. But that top gen not being completed is going to be a bit of a problem as we are looking at our potential 3 gen here. It's not bad, but not great, to be perfectly honest. You have Shaq, and you do have some other gens in the corner of the map as well, but it's far from the strongest 3 gen you could have. C'est la vie doing a wonderful job right now, recognizing it at the end there. That gen is going to be going over by the wayside right now, and Kozol just going to be, Killer just going to be carrying this chase on. Back to the comp corner, where we like.
Comp corner indeed. Ace really going to take this additional time loss right there, and it's a good decision because we have a little bit of distance towards the hook, and 5 seconds can make a huge difference when we're talking about that final generator or this reset. 5 seconds on this reset. If the Spirit would have 5 seconds more to reach them right here, that would be the potential interruption. If the Spirit would have guessed the situation correctly, we already hear the heartbeat. So 5 seconds in comp can be feeling like half of an hour. C'est la vie on the hook is a good circumstance for the survivors as well, because we do have 1 minute and 30 seconds of hang time. Definitely good for a reset. We can coordinate ourselves a little bit differently. We can see what is the upcoming strategy, what is the next step we want to take, and then so on. We're trying to make the best out of it. Claudette needs to be careful. She should stay rather hidden here because she would be eliminated with the next hook stages, but F3 is the survivor that can definitely take some risk, and they are exactly setting that up at the moment. This is the survivor that needs to be hidden on the generator, and F3 rotating towards the unhook actor. This is perfect micromanagement that we see here.
Yeah, so he's been hanging for quite a while now. F3 is kind of poking around here. This is dangerous here. This is dead on hook as well, and isn't going to be the one to go for the save because it's just too risky, right? And Spirit is going to be recognizing that, is going to be getting the chase through. This does allow the opportunity for RV to get off the hook, and we have that stun coming out there, because the thing about that is that on paper, that seems like a really, really strong palette, but honestly, it's kind of okay. When it's up, it's certainly more valuable when it's dropped, right? So playing that very well there is Dibis, but does end up getting hit eventually. Does still have this, as I would say with my accent, dead art to be working with. It's very interesting how a lot of players like to bring both the balanced landing and the dead art at the same time. Down is going to be going through there. Dibis camping the pallet a little too hard right there. Attempt on the flashlight save came through, but unfortunately not coming off. But yeah, it's interesting how a lot of players like to run both the balance and the decisive. The balance and the dead art at the same time. It seems like it just gives them more of an option in that first chase. Dead art will never be active in your first chase. Therefore, you still have an exhaustion perk to work with if you are the tunnel out survivor, to buy yourself more time for that initial hook. Then after that is when you kind of forego using balance to instead use the dead art instead.
And now we are back to this very painful situation where two survivors need to fight for that huge pressure that is coming out from the Spirit. F3 manages to get a whiff out and not getting injured. Never mind, I cast a curse this guy very, very clearly, but we have 60% on the other generator, so going to the edge map is a good decision and wasting as much time as possible here. Will we see the slug? The answer is no, so generator number 5 should be very, very possible here. 75% right here, potentially a photo finish coming out. We can only hope that it's going to be enough. We do have quite some travel time, though, with the phasing of the Spirit. If she's picking the correct generator, she should be able to interrupt it. I'm not entirely sure. This will be so close. Maybe with taking a hit and greeting. Okay, Ace doesn't even try. Never mind.
No. Okay, I mean, Celavi does have the overcome here, right? So can take a hit from the Spirit and then use that distance to get the unhook onto F3. Right, you are going to make a lot of distance. Nice tech there, standing still, doing nothing in a corner. Works very effectively in your public matches. Make sure to do it all of the time. And is going to barely get the unhook off, but this isn't really going to do anything. It's mostly cosmetic. The hook can just come through onto F3. The hook can come through here onto Celavi. And F3 is going to be hiding in the basement, which is, I mean, I understand that the hatch does spawn at the shack. Unfortunately, the basement is part of shack, but it's not quite the right idea. So it's a miracle play that's being gone here for. We recognize that when you are injured, you aren't going to be able to actually win a shack hatch, a hatch standoff. You're just going to get hit and die. But Kozol is going to have very good vision onto both of these exit gates right now. Very bad exit gates for F3. I mean, has a sprint burst, maybe. That's worth something. Inner strength might have been an idea, had a totem been cleansed, but it hasn't. I mean, what can you really do here? I mean, call for Batman, I guess that's what F3's trying to do, but it's not real. I hate to break it to you, it's just a comic book. So there we are. Oh well, nice attempt here from the survivor side, but ultimately that is going to be the 4K1 coming out here from our Spirit. Pretty strong, but also pretty standard performance. What I'm really be seeing, 4K1 is good on Spirit. I feel like to be breaking into the high levels of DBDL, you want to be getting a 4K2. That's probably your realistic strong result as a Spirit. But 4K1, given the circumstances, you'll happily take that as well.
Yeah, 4K1 is definitely okay. That's for sure. It's kind of the average, as you say. Yeah, we have seen some outs.
I'm just saying, people are mad that Batman isn't real, but sorry, go on.
Yeah, so 4K1 definitely being an okay result here inside of the average, I would say, with this balancing. On the other hand, we have seen some outs. If you play against Eternal, then 4 stages are possible on the Spirit, though I feel like we cannot really use Eternal as an average here because, Eternal is a little bit different. But yeah, 4K1, okay result. Win condition, though, definitely very clear. Killer in the upcoming game will be able to defend the 3-gen. Survivors need to smash through all the 5 generators to go for the escapes and therefore the win condition there. So 4K1 is also, and this is the interesting fact, 4K1 is the most often occurring tie condition in DBDL. It's not 4K0, it's not 4K2, it is always this final generator that teams are struggling with, and it's not because it's an S tier. It is because I actually don't know what it is, because on a ghost phase it's the final generator, on a demo it's the final generator. Whenever it occurs, then it's always 4K1.
It kind of just makes sense from the way that comp is. It just sort of makes sense to me, right? Like, generally you're going to have your first chase come through, and that will take... It shouldn't necessarily take that long because the survivors are so focused on not running the killer into each other, right? So where the gen's being worked on, the survivor is going to use resources on the other side of the map, right? And even if you're best survivor in the world, you could eventually run out of those. Plus, remember, these are very high-tier killers, most of which have good chase powers. Even someone like Demogorgon still has a pretty solid chase ability. So the down can realistically come through relatively early on. And then the play is just to get that survivor out of the game, right? That's time where the other 2 survivors can spend time. And just by matter of how the timings work out, you tend to finish about 3 generators in that time. You can get 1 more, you clear out, and then suddenly pressure is too much. Everyone has to run all over the place. There's a kill that comes through, and that's it. So that's why I think 4K1 is the most common tie condition, just because that's the state of comp, to be perfectly honest. The game plan is figured out for most killers, and the performances are also kind of expected at that point. Steam is down, so we're going to have to be doing a little bit of stalling, which is fine by me. Someone did ask earlier, they saw in my Discord bio how I got into Overwatch casting. So the first thing was just playing a lot of it, because I really enjoyed Overwatch, and then thought I might have a crack at casting this, why not? Where I got my start was broadcast.gg, so if you're interested in casting, then join their Discord server, and they have different sections for entry-level jobs, experienced jobs, but where I started was volunteer work, so unpaid work, mostly in kind of the collegiate scene. The first organization I'll give credit to for giving me a job was Ultimate Esports, so huge props to them. And you can just go from there, to be honest. Go on broadcast.gg, get to know people, and eventually then you will get jobs that way. In my case, I was a UK university student, which meant that there were also some opportunities for me to work with as well in that scene. So if you go to, say, college in America, you can always look at what is happening in esports there and whether that's going to be something that you might be interested in. And that's how it works. Overwatch commentators are goated. I mean, I feel like this is a little bit of a tangent. I do apologize, but at the esports awards, I think it was Uber that won Caster of the Year. Considering that Overwatch isn't considered one of the massive esports titles in comparison with things such as Valorant, League of Legends, DBD, yeah, a massive esports scene like DBD. it is really nice to see Uber kind of getting the credit he deserves, because that man is like crazy good. Like, I quite literally, when I'm VODing, I do kind of sometimes look through Ubercast, and it's just like man's just kind of clean with it, you know. But yeah, the flourishing DVD scene, as we all know. I mean, behavior is beginning to support competitive DBD. You know, it's definitely like a baby steps kind of direction for sure. I feel like them supporting these tournaments with the iridescent shards it's absolutely massive, and obviously we can't thank behavior enough helping out with that. I feel like the next reasonable step would be working on the spectator bugs, which is kind of the viewing experience, right? I mean, we do have to also give credit. There was that issue when this new patch came through with spectating, I believe, but that very quickly received a change. So obviously we have to give credit for them helping that, because we understand that from their perspective, that isn't high on the priority list, right? But for the competitive DBD scene, fixing spectator bugs, and also them actually fixing the bug that didn't allow spectating, I suppose, that was massive, and so we have to give credit to that, of course.
Yeah, even though I was a little bit, I feel like that was a general server issue with loading in that not only touched the spec mode, and then they had to change something anyway, and it got changed with it. The problem is when we are talking about the spectator mode, it is actually really hard what we are dealing with. The fact that we have this spectator, like that the Wraith has a weird skin, or that the Plague weapon is vibrating weirdly, etc. Like, we don't really mind about this, right? But the fact that we have such an FPS stutter on the killer side for 9 months now is showing the priority. And it's showing how much they are putting into the custom game mode in comparison to the other elements in the game they have. So I totally agree. If they would go down this road, which we all obviously hope, then the biggest hope at the beginning is that they will take a huge update to make the spectator mode ready to go. And my two biggest wishes probably would be, first, that you can click on a character in the HUD and it jumps directly to that camera perspective. So you don't have to go with the arrows through it. I don't even want to talk about free cam yet, because this is too difficult. The second one would be that you can rejoin as a spectator. It doesn't happen often, but when the producer crashes, and our producers sometimes crash because of a game crash, it's not always because the internet is responsible. It's sometimes we are crashing because the game decides this was enough. And in this case, then you're sitting 10 minutes on stream with no content. The viewers don't see anything. You have to update them about the result. It's just bad. And if you would be able to go back into the game as a spectator, just rejoining it, that would be really, really needed, I feel like. Free cam would be absolutely sick. We don't dare to dream about it, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's also kind of a discussion in chat. It's more about comp generally. The idea of, should the game have a casual competitive mode? It seems like, to me, it seems like slightly counterintuitive, because I do understand why people are asking this, but there are two things that kind of exist right now. Number one, I don't think it's a stretch to say that DBD was never built with comp in mind, not from any point of view, right? It was never made to be a competitive esports title, you know, something like Valorant, something like Overwatch, something like League. It was never intended to be that. However, we've kind of made that. Well, not me. I just sit here and yell at things and look funny. But the DBDL team, so, you know, the commissioners, the staff members, the rules committee, balancing, all that, they've kind of made it and it's relatively accessible for players. So the way I see it, it doesn't necessarily matter whether DBD has a comp mode or not, because you can, for all intents and purposes, you can just play comp. You know, there's the DBDL 1v1 ladder for specific 1v1s, but then you can also join a team. They're looking for group servers as well. There's the whole balancing system which has been set up, and it specifically details, you know, which kill to play, what map to be on, what perks are allowed, what perks are not allowed, what items you can bring, etc., etc. And it's a little more annoying than just going in game and clicking on the competitive button, but realistically, there's no like massive difference. If you want to play comp DBD, you can. You just have to go through a couple more hoops to do it, right? However, enough yapping. We have a Spirit gameplay. We have some Spirit gameplay to talk about.
Indeed, Spirit coming out, win condition. All generators to be completed by team rejected. First injury though, coming out really, really fast. Going into the shack, and we are trying the Zero strategy, and it is the Zaka strategy, and it does work. Going into the basement to fake that you are coming around the shack, making the survivor vault back into it, and then taking the down. This was introduced to us in Season 9. It's in our highlight videos that Savannah, quick shout out, is always putting together. Savannah was putting this clip in. It's from Zaka. He's doing exactly that on the staircase, and we can tell Last Prey is watching Season 9. Last Prey is learning, and he got the reward from that. What a nice strategy right here. Oh, I love it.
Game's over. Simple as that. Game's over right now. It's game over, man. To quote Alien, I mean, your first hook came within 30 seconds in the basement, in the center of the map. You have great position to camp out here. You can pressure so many different generators. You can protect a 3-gen over here if you want to. Kozul is just going to get bullied out of this lobby, body blocked all the way up here. Gonna wait 10 entire seconds, and it's just going to be going down right here. You need Kozul to have the anti-tunnel perks, right? I don't recall what Kozul had. I'm not sure if we briefly saw, but you need Kozul to have Decisive Strike, have something like that to live for a little bit longer. Because right now, this is just an awful position to be in. Just absolutely terrible.
There's now going to be that first generator coming out while we're carrying our survivor back into the basement. Second hook stage coming out on our beloved survivor, and that means 60 seconds away from the full elimination. We need the generator pressure. Nancy either getting a rescue or being sacrificed here, but if we're going for the sacrifice, then we at least need 1.5 generators to balance that out. Last Prey is scouting the area though, not going for the biggest amount of camp here, which is good to see as well. Our killer realizes that 4 generators for the tie condition can be completed quite easily if you are spending too much time in the same location. Therefore, we are not getting the injury here, but at least removing 1 pallet for later on in the game. Rotating back now, it seems like we are not going for the unhook yet on the survivor team, but I spoke too soon. The scratch marks now coming out, and that's also the 4 that people coming out. So the tunnel out onto Nancy will be really difficult. Now you cannot go for the ace, otherwise you would go and allow the Nancy to take the distance, and then you wouldn't be able to eliminate that survivor. So ace will make it safe out of the basement. Firecracker for the destruction there. No pallet, unfortunately, but we're making it towards the window. The life is coming out as well. Great chase by the Nancy here.
Nancy is making the best out of the bad situation right now. Use that Firecracker. Didn't do a whole lot, but it could have been effective in slowing the killer briefly. We did see that when the Spirit actually came out of the phase, it wasn't worth a whole lot. And going down on the pallet as well, recognizing that there will be a survivor nearby. But are they going to be spotted out? That's the question of the day right now. We're going to be waiting here. Does Spirit think it is safe to do this pickup? This could change the tide of the game here, because we do have 3 generators now completed. So the survivors are actually making, you know, shockingly good progress on the gens right now. Did the Spirit spot out No, still didn't spot our survivor. Goes for the pickup now, has the sprint burst to come in, but you were this close to greatness! You were so close! No, mate! Oh, that's horrific. I quit. I quit my job. I quit. This is the second time today I've quit my job. That's it. It's over. Oh my god. Oh my god. No, what you doing, mate? Oh, what you doing? Oh, man.
Unfortunate situation. Story on the ground. We have the 4 generators though. This is the very important to talk about here because Rejected will at least Tamashi will at least so far not lose it immediately. We still have the chance to go for a tie here, but we need to make sure that we're keeping these survivors under control. Second down coming out. What is Zarina doing? There's the answer. Story is being picked up. Therefore, Last Prey is going for the pick here in the comp corner. Oh, this will be actually a really tough match now because we have 1 elimination already. So it's a 3v1. That means less efficiency and less pressure on the generators. On the other hand, we are still having a lot of hook stages. We still have a lot of hang time. And so far, I would say we also have a somewhat coordinated survivor team.
Oh, this
the final generators are the are the problem, though. Acting. This is really disgusting. Yeah.
Okay. Earlier, I mentioned that I needed a shower after seeing disgusting play. Seeing this 3-gen split, I need like full deep cleaning. I need acid in my bones and everything. Like, this is horrific to watch. I'm surprised that Survivors were able to complete 4 gens after such an early down into the basement. That was just phenomenal Spirit gameplay. Survivors did rally behind that together for a little bit as well. But how do you do this here if you're Survivors? You just don't, to put bluntly. The hook is in the middle of these 3 generators. If you ever try anything fancy, maybe try and run somewhere else, Spirit has agitation, so it's just going to bring them back into that gen fold or closer to it as well. I don't see anything that the Survivors can actually do, to be completely honest. I'd love for them to prove me wrong, but sometimes you just have to say it how it is, and how it is pretty damn bad for the Survivor side right now.
Yeah, it looks really, really rough, unfortunately. You would hope for them that they have another long chase, but unfortunately Maddox is just going to take the double vault into the arms of the killer here. Quick rehook on that survivor. I believe that is even the elimination. And yeah, that is going to be the full elimination coming out. So we are going down into the 2v1 situation right here, and there's the next survivor immediately being found next to the generator. And the problem is, where else would you go? Because the 3 generators here are so close together that the killer has perfect chance to defend the setup altogether. Is trying to make as much distance as possible, but Last Prey not allowing that. And the only chance that we have now is that Zarina is giving up on the generators and goes for a last second escape, because then the generator condition would be a tie, but the hook stages would be 12 on the one side and 9, 10, 11, but definitely not 12 on the other side. So there's a chance that our survivor team can still do this, but their scratch marks actor, I think they are found.
You're looking...
No, they vanished. Houdini!
I mean, I didn't know the Iron Will buff had already happened. That's what I'll say. I mean... Yeah, okay. Well, Zarina's going to be living a little bit longer for the time being. Going to try and redeem themselves after the pallet save incident of 5 minutes ago, which wasn't ideal. Going to be just going to the corner of the map here. The issue is you can't get hatch here. You're injured, so you cannot play for the hatch. So it's a case of find the exit gate, try and find one that's as furthest as possible from Shack. Shack here is basically just smack bang in the center of the map, and Spirit has some of the better mobility in the game as well. You're not in a great spot. There's the... All I can think of is right now, Zarina is looking for a totem. Yeah, looking for a totem to cleanse so that you can hop a locker, be uninjured, and then be fine from there. But you are also very... How did they know? How did the Spirit know?
Game sense.
Top 10 games. I mean, look, Spirit's strong player, but this not normally. So, someone check that. Someone check that guy's PC or something like that, or please towards commission or something like that. You can juice in this chase for as long as you want here. You can get the blind eventually. No, you can't. Never mind. You can't get the blind. We can barely even tell when Spirit's freezing at any point in time or not. But I mean, yeah, I have no clue how the Spirit possibly determined that Zarina was right there on that specific totem at that very moment. But, you know, fair play. It works anyway. Hatch has been shut for good measure, and you can't really do anything right now as You can't really do anything right now as Zarina. You're just going to get run into the very corner of the map. So I believe that is going to be this one, all tied up between Tamashi and Rejection as well. Okay. Well, I guess I'll be. Oh, you're back. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I had a short cut there. Mountain internet is striking a little bit today. But yeah, it's great though, because of course we would play all 5 sets since it's a scrim night, even though if one team, in this case Rejection, would take the 3rd win point early. But the fact that we now have a tie and it stays on a 2-0 gives Tamashi the chance to still make a comeback even, and potentially take the 2 remaining sets and walk out here with a tie overall. So there is a huge possibility for achieving that. We are moving forward into set 4, ladies and gentlemen. The Doctor will be coming out. Tamashi picked this. We have seen earlier how great Tamashi looks on their chosen killers. But it's time for another break real quick. Us casters getting a little bit of a breathe through, filling our glasses again. Same for you. Grab a drink, grab a snack. We will be back for you with set number 4 in a short moment.
Hello everyone! In the meantime, while we were on break, we were having a rousing discussion about literature and Franz Kafka and all that, because, I don't know, DBDL is an intelligent man's game, as we well know. Anyway, back to the match itself. It is going to be the Doctor, which is something that we have not seen all that much in... it's not something we've seen all that much this season. I do believe that Doctor is still... is still an available pick, right?
Indeed, yeah, Doctor is available.
Well, yeah, well, it's interesting. We've barely been seeing any of it, so we can see the perk choices. The only one here that seems slightly off-kilter is going to be Forced Hesitation, Singularity perk, which means that nearby survivors are going to be slowed up when you get the hit through. And right now you can just see, you know, the standard Doctor loop, which is to shock hundreds of times until you are able to barely close that distance. These 2 add-ons are kind of mandatory. You have these notes, and on top of providing a constant red stain, the most important part is that they reduce the detonation delay of your shock. So when you put the shock out on the floor, there's a moment between it appearing and the actual detonation where that not being able to interact for a second or 2 effect actually kicks in, right? That will happen more rapidly, which makes this kind of just mandatory, right? You also have to deal with the fact that there are a bunch of random doctors getting away, you're screaming all the time, and I don't know, it doesn't seem to be that pleasant being electrocuted over and over again 24/7. Against weaker doc players, they will often just kind of abuse his power at loops, but with this specific add-on combination, you can just kind of shock your short loops over and over again and eventually force a hit on the survivors, right? Doctor, not high tier in the slightest, but because of that, does have access to some good things. I mean, I believe there was research in the video. If you could guarantee Doctor on a decent map with good perks against survivors that do not have a lot of perks to work with, and all you have to give up are your iridescent add-ons, then, I mean, you might as well take that, right?
Indeed. I have a theory, though, what you mentioned earlier, why the Doctor is not picked so often. Another one, I do feel like that comp players feel like it is very not rewarding for the skill you are having, because it does deny you all the loops, basically. And if you have a really, really good Doctor, I feel like it can be very frustrating to play him in comp DBD. Because sometimes we also have this little bit of a shock delay. Sometimes you think, no, the survivor will not make the window. Then they are vaulting unexpectedly because there is a little bit of a ping difference. And it might be that it just feels very bad that you cannot use the loops the way you're used to. Then you always have to throw in the body block. You're screaming constantly. Then you have to snap out of it, which is also not the most interesting gameplay for the players. So this is my theory, why they don't have the most friendly approach towards the Doctor here. Get You is in the basement, so we got you down there, and I do think it's going to be the second hook stage coming in a moment. Though, to tell you a story, Actor, I don't think there will be a rescue either.
Anyway,
anyway,
back to the gameplay at hand. So yeah, I mean, that is going to be get you going over to the second stage here. Likely with that hit coming through onto the Nancy, the rest of the survivors are going to be posturing for an unhook now. Optimistic attempt at the hit there, and yeah, that's the unhook that is going to be coming through. This is the go signal for the Doctor to return straight here back to the basement as you would like to, but Story did put themselves in a pretty good position to take that initial hit, so he's going to be delaying the tunnel out as well. It's actually willing to be giving their life for this. It seems like no, not. He's going to be running away instead, shocking everyone right now. And this is Diver. It's actually getting really good progress on the Survivor's Madness meters. You have to remember that when a Survivor has hit Madness 3, oh wait, they're going for the tech. They're going for the tech. Shack power has been broken because there is a tech you can do when the Survivor is inside the shack, where you can guarantee a hit. It's tricky to accomplish. And wait, hang on. Wait. This is just mind game shack palette without the power. That's ludicrous.
Yes.
My lord. Wow. Okay then. Anyway,
this happened.
Yes. All right. Never mind. You don't need to. I was going on about well, tech. Who needs a tech when you have a huge stick which you can hit survivors with? That being said, we do have 4 generators with it, right? And we only need 1 more. Looking around at the regen that we have, it's a pretty solid gen split for our Doctor, to be honest. So can, sit in the middle of all of these, pop a shock to kind of pressure all of them out at the same time. So really bad position for survivors to be in. They are going to have the capacity to heal up, and there isn't any ludicrous regression, but they will have an end game to deal with, and that end game will be particularly brutal if the killer can get someone on a hook by the time that the end game begins.
And talking about the end game seems to be realistic here, because we are having 3 healthy survivors that can put our killer on a little bit of a run here. The generator setup, we are having 2 over here. Did I lose track of the third one, or is it a disgusting 3? It is actually a disgusting 3-gen. Again, don't mind me, then the end game might be possible, but definitely not coming in that soon and that easy as I was expecting here. I totally didn't notice that generator there behind the shack, and I was thinking our survivor team was just so unlucky in the spirits that they are certainly not having another 3-gen like this, but I was wrong. Behavior here really cooking and punishing the survivor team. Story taking a hit, not dropping the pallet though, showing the experience and the patience on the player side there to keep that resource for a use later on. Someone slowly walking away. There we can only also see the good communication within the survivor team here, making sure that they are not taking too much risk, and whenever the killer is rotating away onto the hook, we immediately see how Renato is going back there onto the generator. Really good what the survivor team is showing us at the moment, trying to strike at the perfect moment, at the perfect timing. But yeah, how do you play against a 3-gen like this? You need a lot of passion, you need a perfect communication, and you need 3 survivors healthy. There's the reset now. But this will be the survivor team really tested now.
Yeah, Story is going to be snapping out there, and here's the... Sorry, as Kozil and Metok actually all going to be in that tier 3, so even more slowdown. They are now going to have to run away and snap out of it as well. Here's the issue. Yes, it's a 3-gen, but if you want to get even more technical on that, realistically, this functions more as a 2-gen. You can see survivors do not want to touch that gen in the very far corner because it's just far too risky, right? You have nowhere to run to at all as that hit is actually going to come through, so Survivor is slowly working down the resource of this map. Is actually going to be committing all the way onto Kozil here. Gonna need to look at the gen pressure to see whether this is a good idea. Seems like it, but Kozil always has the potential to do a little bit more juicing right now. He's gonna take advantage of it away from that loop. See how close our Doctor is. Hot on the heels? Not quite. More lukewarm, dare I say. But coming back over to the generators, but yeah, as I was saying, the survivors are very unwilling to commit to that gen in the far corner because you have nowhere to go. If you get found on that gen, and the killer is coming from the shack direction, you quite literally have nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, right? So it's a hell of a thing, but Dive is actually happy to kind of let these gens go just for a little bit. I mean, eventually you do have to commit to a survivor to some degree, but you need to get your hit in, right? And so this is where the most skill expression is going to be showing up, right? This Doctor is just going to be running back to the gens.
The only good news for our survivor team is this anti-gen kick mechanic that is coming up after 8 kicks. Here we are slowly seeing it build up, so this was kick number 4. It does take a lot of patience, but the Doctor also doesn't have a chance. He noticed that we have a very coordinated survivor team, so as soon as you commit to a chase, you know that the other 2 survivors are doubling up on the generator. And then even if the survivor takes a hit early, holding W towards the main building here will give them enough distance and time to finish that final generator. So the Doctor doesn't have a choice unless the survivor team is making a mistake. And so far, the survivor team is not doing that. The survivor team of Rejected, in fact, plays a very, very coordinated and very perfectly executed trial. The Doctor has to wait between the 2 generators here, potentially forcing them all the way back to 0. But after that, at some point, it will be over with the gen kicks. And that is the moment when he potentially has to give up, though. He's going to take another injury here, potentially on the survivors. Meanwhile, we will see Nia, I believe, going straight back onto the gens. He does actually lose a lot of time here because our survivor is holding W. The injury is coming out right here, and he does give up on the 3-gen actor.
Okay, it's just going to be giving up on it, so fully committing now. Now Metok recognizes the game plan, knows, okay, well the 3-gen is gone. Guess where I'm running, brother? The corner of the map. That does work for me pretty well. Is going to make this pallet not quite able to. And yeah, okay, so Doctor is actually giving up the 3-gen entirely. I mean,
not sure if he had to, though.
Yeah, maybe not had to. I mean, you're banking on No Edge doing the Lord's work right now. But to put it bluntly, the it's up in your favor on the other side of the map. I mean, all you can hope for is the survivors don't yet know that there is a No Edge because that down came through before that, right? Maybe the survivors try and come in for the 2-man save, but if they've been tracking the perks properly, they should know about the Force Hesitation, the Corrupt, and the Scourge Hook. Those effects have all been active this match. Maybe not even the Scourge Hook, to be honest. Maybe at the start of the game someone figured it out, but it only happened once. So the survivors surely need to be tracking. There is a 4th unaccounted for perk right here. We're going to be seeing whether this No-Ed is going to get that level of value.
And now we need to make sure that we're getting as many stages as possible out of the door. And there is going to be the Hex. No one escapes death coming in clutch. That's going to be a double down here both together. And Nia, I do think you should consider leaving the trial here. Oh, it would be rough though. 9 stages, I believe that would be, which means That is a
Yeah,
very
watch out.
hard result to take on the survivor side. 9 stages on the Doctor is quite a lot. Usually we are around 6 or 7 since it's one of the weaker M1 killers. 9 stages definitely being a huge one here. Good news, story is a fresh hook, so you have 9 stages on 3 survivors. Your killer can potentially bring this to 9 stages on 4 individual survivors. Hatch might be a possibility as well. But I don't think they are making it in time, especially with the time that Maddox has to spend until the 2 skill checks are coming through. Oh damn, I'm not sure if, like, for the fact that the killer didn't need to give up on the 3-gen that moment yet, he definitely took a really, really good job and got a lot of additional hook stages, we have to say that.
Yeah, I mean, NOED just did wonders there, right? I'm not sure what you can really say about that, aside from, as the survivors, it's generally a good thing to be tracking what perks the killer has, right? Now, that can be tricky, but all of these other 3 perks that are not NOED, you do have the ability to figure them out, right? You know when there's a forced hesitation in play, someone will get hindered when there's a down nearby, right? You know when the Scourge Hook's in play because a gen will go when a hook happens, right? Corrupt because the gens are covered by Entity Claws, right? And it seems like a maybe slight survive. If we had to criticize, because I don't think the survivors played this one badly at all. The endgame was kind of just a bit rough, sort of unlucky for them. But if you want to nitpick, you do need to be tracking those perks, right? And the moment that you know there are 3 perks in play and you don't know what the 4th one is, you kind of have to assume the worst and think NOED, right? And then it's a judgment call of, okay, well then, how are we going to deal with this? Can we get our friend out? Obviously, hindsight is 2020, and we know that just having both those survivors leave would have been the better option. We, of course, have that power because we weren't the ones playing, right? But still, it seems... I guess that's just the nitpick, right? Make sure to track the perks that the killer has. It's very important in a comp setting, right?
Mm-hmm. This calculation is the big thing, though, for the teams. Always trying to figure out what character, strategy, gameplay is suiting for this specific comp setting we are entering. And then it's also very unique, right? Which opponent are we playing against? With what balance are we playing this match? It can really drastically impact the comp setting on top of that. So there is a lot of calculation going on. We have a second Doctor trial coming up in a second, and then we have, as the final set for tonight, the Demogorgon. So 3 more trials of content. We are hyped, and while we are waiting for the invitation, there's another chance to ask your questions about Season 9, about future events, about the past of DBDL, anything you always wanted to know. This is a perfect chance to ask us.
I'm gonna start with you, Dyer, because I don't know how much of this question I'm going to ask. Someone did ask earlier, so it has been advertised quite heavily that the anniversary stream is this Sunday, 23rd of June, starting at 5:30 Central European Time. For all of the Americans, that's, I don't know, about 12 o'clock or so, not entirely sure, look it up.
Yeah.
But, or just have the notifications on. You'll get pinged in the server, the Discord server, regardless. Someone asked earlier, what have we got planned for that? Mostly because I don't fully know, and I also don't know what we can fully share. Aside from the actual matches that will happen, of course, because I do believe there are 2 matches on that day.
Yeah, what we are trying to do on Sunday, thank you for bringing it up again, is we want to celebrate. It is the first time that DBDL is live with the tournament on the anniversary. In the past years, it was always a day where we didn't stream or we were sleeping on it. And then, yeah, or like last year, to be honest, no, not last year, the year before, we got actually informed about the anniversary by Twitch sending us an email. It's your streamer anniversary. And we were like, damn, we totally forgot about that. So it was on our agenda to go for it. It will not be like, focus is Season 9 and focus are the 2 best of 3s that we are seeing that day. But we do want to take the time to take a moment and realize the path we have taken as DBDL and how we have taken this path, and obviously from the support of the entire community. We were collecting wishes beforehand. Our artists have created a very wonderful video, a celebration video that is 9 minutes long. Multiple speeches inside there. The founder of DBDL is talking in the video. The founder of DBDL, Willie Awesome, is also casting the first best of 3 with me together on the desk. So we are sharing some memories, talking a little bit about the history of DBDL. How did everything start? How did comp change in our eyes? A little bit of discussion, almost podcast-like. We have the celebration video. Now we have the games together, and we just want to use the day to kind of realize where we're coming from as comp DBD as a whole, and where are we going in the future. And this is why I like the caster setup a little bit, because we have Will and me kicking it off. So we have the founder of DBDL, and then me, who took it over after halfway of DBDL basically. And then the second best of 3, we have Ray and me casting, which is a newer caster combination that we are testing towards the playoffs as well, or will continue for the playoffs. So we are kind of having like the past of DBDL and then the future of DBDL a little bit, which is also nice to see.
Are we also able to talk about the caster duos for the playoffs yet, or is that something that we keep under wraps for until it actually happens?
I think we can share that we are planning with fixed casting duos for the playoffs, but I feel we should. Yeah, now I shared that. Now we can share it.
It's on you. You run the show, man. This is on you.
Yeah, but I just yeah. So what we are trying to do for the playoffs of season 9 is that we are going with fixed casting duos. At the moment, we have a casting roster that is very flexible, and we are checking the attendance, and we are saying who can cast on this weekend, and then we are putting the casters together. Obviously, we are trying to find combinations that are rather a good addition to each other. How do I mean this? There are some casters like Cole. Cole has a huge talent for analytics and statistics.
Bro's brain is gigantic.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And for example, we have Imitatia Toby, who's also an absolute statistic person and really, really talented into it. And putting 2 insanely statistic-orientated casters together would make a lack of, for example, making, I don't want to say missing the jokes, but you know what I mean. Like, you need one caster who's this analytical person with a huge brain, realizing and understanding what's going on, and in best case you have this hype caster who's bringing everyone to edge, and we all in DBDL we all have different talents, I believe, and this is something that I really value when someone is applying for DBDL as a caster. I really hold back on giving them feedback. I say, yeah, you have the brain way. You have the base kit, you have the brain for comp, you have an understanding. And when they are then saying, do you have further feedback for me? I'm saying like, no, I would like to not give you feedback. Please join the roster, please collect experience, develop your own style. Because I feel like what was safe to say, we are very different casters on the DBDL roster. You can really not compare us. Some of us are really going into more jokes and more trying to hype the audience. Some of us really prioritize analytics and statistics. And while we are obviously trying to cover everything, no one is only 24/7 dropping jokes, because that would be unprofessional as well. I feel like we have huge talents on the casting roster, very different talents, so we are always trying to find the best combination. For the playoffs, we wanted to go with 6 casters that have proven themselves with a lot of casting during the season, with a lot of positive feedback by the audience, YouTube comments, Twitch server, Twitch chat, Discord server. So we have picked 6 casters, and we have divided these 6 casters into 3 duos that are coming together. It's Spoker and Actor casting together, Cole and Prion casting together, and Ray and me casting together. And these 3 duos will guide us all the way through the playoffs. so far the plan we have, at least. Let's see if that's
I'll
working
be,
out.
I'll be sure to wear a suit and tie the entire way. Also, I don't know where this narrative is coming from in chat. That I need to. Everyone's saying about it that I need to now 1v1 like an NA caster because I dump on NA for existing so much. Like, okay, here's the thing. I'll be honest, right? I kind of suck at the game, to put it bluntly. I do not yet have 1,000 hours. And I play like 95% killer and like 5% survivor. So it would not be an entertaining watch, especially if someone against someone like Cole. I mean, I have to do it for the pride of the UK, I suppose. I don't have any UK pride, but I know that I have been harsh on America for existing, and in fairness, they do deserve it. But it would be a really good bit. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when that happens. I mean, right now there's not been a whole lot to discuss because this is the first chase, and that drop comes through just in time. You did actually see the other survivor come in there for the body block, but not necessary. Yuichi said, "Nah, I'd win, I guess," and is fine to just keep on running for a little bit longer. This first chase taking quite a long time, and yeah, we do have the other survivor. Saylavi actually dropping the pallet there seems like a bit of an interesting play. That's a resource you could be saving for later. You could just take the M1 instead, but Kozol has to just, you know, keep on committing to Dibus right now because what else do you have? And Dibus happy to just keep on pre-dropping these pallets because you know that the gen pressure is so good right now.
The gen pressure is definitely on a really, really high level at the moment, and the survivors keep doing a good job here. Our injured survivor able to run again and again, making the loops a little bit longer by going onto the outside here, and able to go on such a run. Then comes in our Jake, bye-bye, saying now goodbye to the killer as they're both taking a little bit of distance here. And this is exactly what we need. We need an aggressive survivor team with a lot of confidence. We need a survivor team that is taking a good chunk of risk. Not too much risk, but when you are trying to deal with the 9 stages win condition, you want to delay that first down as much as you can. Dwight now taking an injury as well, and they keep running, they keep grinding. It is so beautiful to watch right now what Tamashi is putting up here.
Yeah, I mean, this chase is still ongoing, and yeah, there are a couple of injured survivors to show for it, but that doesn't really matter because injuries don't mean a damn thing when you can't get the downs, as eventually Bye-Bye is going to be falling. But you look around, that's 3 gens completed for the price of 1 hook and 2 injuries. Not entirely sure that that's a check that can really be cashed, to be honest, especially because the survivors are happy to just go to the corner over here and reset as well. C'est la vie. Sorry, F3 going to be just fine over here on the other side as well. Kozol has to be finding someone through, but doesn't have that static blast online. We're seeing a slight dim build here. No Noed, gonna be Sloppy Butcher instead. I mean, we saw the Noed get, you know, potential game-winning value on the last set. Sloppy Butcher here is certainly not a bad perk. It is going to make those resets a lot slower. I think by well, exactly 8 seconds, if you want to be very specific, which is a very long time, as we well know. But the Noed just seems to do so much for you, and it's not like your early game has been particularly strong as the killer right now, but you are going to be getting a beautiful shot through. Fortunately, Bye-Bye did just get off the hook, still had that endurance for a little bit longer. That could have been a clip-worthy play had that not come through. The ball coming through. Oh my god. The killer just wanted Bye-Bye, and F3 said, nah, you gotta go through me, mate. Oh boy.
That was really wild that we have seen there, and still though we only have 1 hook stage so far. Bye-Bye doing a good job here, was saving the teammate earlier by taking a nice body block, though this shock is coming out a little bit too dangerous and will put our survivor onto the floor here. That's going to be the 2nd hook stage onto this survivor, so we are moving towards the elimination. The question is though, will we be able to get the gens, get the elimination in time before all gens are flying? Someone in chat is asking, why is Tamashi TMH instead of TMS? Or
Good question.
TAM, that is what the team chose when they signed up for the community night. We are always asking them about what is your team logo, what is your roster, what is your shortening on the scoreboard, and the team handed in TMH. That's the
Dyer also asked for their diary keys and their credit card numbers as well.
diary keys, credit card numbers, obviously the address.
Yeah.
So we can send them DBDL
Social
stickers.
security number as well. Their mother's maiden name, the 3 wacky digits on the back of their card, stuff like that.
Everything. If you want to play in DBDL, you have to. The players even have to walk through this new machine on the airports where you're being scanned to see if you have anything under your clothes, like forbidden weapons or anything like that. Every player has to go through such a scan. That's a very interesting escalation that happens here while we are talking about the airport. It will be only 4 stages in addition though, and that means that Tamashi is going to take a set point actually. So this best of 5 is not decided at all. We have rejected with 2 set points. We have Tamashi with 1 set point now. Set number 3 was tied. So either rejected is winning the Demogorgon and moving away as what you can call the winner, even though it's just a scrim night. It feels good if you have come out on top. But Tamashi also has the chance to make it 2-2, and then we are walking away equally.
Yeah, Dyer, hear me out here, right? Just for a second.
Yeah.
I think I'm cooking. Okay, so like, you know how like you have like items to like counter the killer, right? So you have vaccines for Nemesis, you have first aid sprays for Wesker, stuff like that, right? What if against a doctor you had apples? You thinking about it?
I'm so proud of myself.
Okay, but are you thinking
An
on
apple
it?
a day keeps the doctor away. Yes, that should be the new item.
Yeah, okay. I'll email behavior right this second. Okay. Alright, good to know that I'm cooking. But yeah, I mean, we did kind of fly through that match, to be honest. We didn't spend a ton of time talking about match itself, but to be honest, it was just phenomenal Survivor team play. There wasn't a lot to be said. It seemed lost from the early outset when that first down came through, when there were, when there was basically 1.5 gens remaining, right? It was a phenomenal, it showed really good, not just individual looping ability, which there was plenty of, but then also team play. The moment that the Doctor got within whiffing distance of a hit, there was a body block that came through at that exact moment. Phenomenal communication, which is definitely something better that we are seeing from Tamashi, which we haven't necessarily seen in the other sets thus far. And as you say, 2-1 in this set is quite a good thing,
Absolutely, yeah. It is really, really, like, I love 2-2. I love the chance for a 2-2. And what we've seen in the other sets, as you say, it was up and down. Tamashi, honestly, so far for me, very outstanding when they have picked the killer, though. It was very much an up and down. This up and down is not so strong on Rejected side. Rejected seemed to me like a team that can play everything. And Tamashi seems for me right now, from my first impression, to be a team that is really good on the killers they feel comfortable with. And if anyone is picking something they haven't set up for or mentally prepared for, then it's going to be a little bit of a catastrophe. Yeah, not that bad, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And final killer is actually going to be Demogorgon, I believe. You were mentioning a little bit about a set yesterday where, what was it? We saw an elimination at 5 gents, which is
and then
certainly
4K,
not...
4K3 or so, 4K3 or 4K4. It was crazy.
On Demogorgon, right?
Yes. Yes,
Jesus
you
Christ.
heard right. Demogorgon was cooking yesterday.
Lore accurate Demogorgon, I guess. I mean, like, hey, there are a lot of people who kind of criticize how the killer is brought over from their universe into DBD, and they don't quite have that same power level, right? First of all, it's a game. Second of all, I feel like that's actually pretty interesting with Vecna in particular, because I had a friend who's really into D&D, and when the Vecna announcement came through, he was like crazy, like, okay, there is no way they can make Vecna lore accurate, because bro would just like eviscerate the survivors within 4 seconds, right? But they kind of include in Vecna's like story that like he's just sort of playing by the rules because he's kind of interested and wants to see what this world is all about, right? And then you have killers that like transcend that, you know. Back when there's the concept of the fact that because in Silent Hill, Pyramid Head is meant to kind of punish James, the Pyramid Head in this world is being here to punish the entity by doing the kills and the cages, denying the entity its kind of satisfaction of the hooks and the kills and the constant cycle that comes through with that. I'm yapping because I'm a neek, but that's really interesting. And
One second.
God, that's 20 subs. That's 20 subs.
20 gifted subs from Grizz. What is happening? 20 gifted subs. Are you okay, man? Did you click on the wrong button and wanted to say 2.0? And then it turned into 20?
Holy subs. Holy gifted. Holy.
This is
thank you. I don't know what else to
crazy.
say.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
This is an insane support for all the prize pools that we're putting into the events, the artists that are working here and trying to put some stuff together. Actually, about art, Sunday we are showing off something new we worked on, because Cold Tower, the showcase video for Cold Tower, will not be the only one that we are having in DBDL. Over time, we are planning to have the most important maps as a showcase video. So Cold Tower, Wrecker's Yard, Dead Dog Saloon, Suffocation Pit. So we are slowly increasing the roster there. And subs like these, or a sub wave, as Grizz is drowning us in support right here, is what makes it possible, because that allows us to accumulate some resources, and this is allowing us to go to an artist and say, yo, we have a new project that we need to work on. Absolutely insane support, super appreciated. Thank you so much. 20 subs is just out of this world. Ladies and gentlemen, ARP and the Demogorgon as our final set of today. C'est la vie, Dibis, F3 and bye-bye on the survivor side, meaning that we are going to have rejected, starting this off on the survivor side, Tamashi here on the killer side. And since Tamashi wants to go for the 2-2 and walk away with a tie, we are hopefully seeing a very strong performance from them on the killer side.
Yeah, gonna just be very quickly doing some renovations, some pause on the floor, some walls that need to be going right now. Looking at the corrupt split, this is kind of exactly what you want, all of the corrupted generators over on the other side of the map. So you've already figured out the gens that you're protecting, right? And this map is one that lends itself well to that. You have this central choke point, which makes, you know, applying pressure to one side of the map as killer so easy. You can just cover this entire choke in such a short amount of time, and then any survivor that wants to crawl into this side isn't going to be able to, right? So very good corrupt split for the killer right now. It's going to be on the survivors to try and drag the killer away, but that is something far easier said than done.
Yeah, quick correction also on our end. We have rejected on the killer side and Tamashi on the survivor side. Now it's shown correctly on stream as well.
NA production.
Shout out to our producer. Shout out to our producer Rats for having such a quick fix on that problem. Producer is always the most stressful job that you can hand out during a match day, because that person is responsible for everything the audience sees. So a huge shout out and huge thank you to Rats for streaming this Scrim Night for us, because otherwise we would sit here with a black screen and then we can all yap, but we will not have the most enjoyable content here. Our Killer for Rejected is trying to get the first down, but Dibis is putting us on a good run here, reaching the next pallet here as well. I don't think that will be enough with the shred attack. Never mind, it will be actually in time, and I doubt we will see a pallet save coming out so spontaneously. And we see very clearly our Demogorgon is opting to go for the basement, setting himself up a very nice cave down here on the bottom side of the Azeroth's resting place. Good start for the Killer, but also a good start for the survivors so far.
Yeah, I mean, this is now going to be really interesting. I mean, initially it seemed like you wanted to protect the gen spread over on the other side of the map, but with a basement hook right there, you could be thinking potentially differently, right? I mean, instead of pressuring the gens at one in the corrupt split, the corrupt split was so strong that now you can just pressure all three of these gens, which now have absolutely no progress on them. And it seems right now that our killer agrees with this, wants to just flick between all these gens at the same time. Going to be briefly checking on making sure that, you know, his little pet is nice and safe in the basement, and then going off to run some more errands, check on these generators, something like that. Is actually going to be using the power, because a fun fact that not a lot of people know is that when you are holding your power, you do get Killer Instinct on anyone who is above a portal. Can't remember if it's only active portals or all portals, but still, it's a nice little means of gathering information as to who is on a generator, right? So right now, you know that there is someone working on this gen because they are triggering the Killer Instinct when you hold that power. So, you know, the more you know.
The more you know, the more control for you against the survivor team that is currently trying to make sure that Dibis is not dying on a hook in a moment here, and they are doing that right here. Will be interesting to see if the killer is going immediately back, and the answer is yes. You want one survivor out of the game, and honestly, we can only hope that the survivors are able to delay that a little bit longer, because an elimination on 3 generators standing is unusual for a Demogorgon, and Dwight is setting up the tone here. He doesn't like his team member. He doesn't like Jake's. I don't know what his problem with Jake mains is, but that was a very clean sandbag right there into the elimination. So that's rough now. That is exactly what you tried to prevent. And now I'm also lagging a little bit, but I'm back. Hello, everyone. Elimination coming through. 3 gen standing actor. This is a very unusual early stage for an elimination. I don't know what happened with Demogorgon, but he's really shining in DBDLeague at the moment.
Demogorgon's been sipping on the Capri Sun. That's all I got to say about it, man. Like, this is really strong early performance going to be coming out. You're going to see how long the killer wants to commit to this, knows where the 3 gen is. Yeah, is on the other side of the map, is going to be heading back over towards the portal to focus on what truly matters, what is closest to a Demogorgon's heart, which is loud electrical generators, I suppose. It's going to be working out here, forcing F3 away, back to the other side of the map. And now it's, this is now what I like to call trench warfare, right? This is a map where defensive play is so strong. The survivors have no real... they know that the survivors know that they're safe on this side of the map, because this is not where the killer wants to be, and the demo knows that they're safe on the other side of the map, because that is where the survivors would generally want to be. So it's a bit of an untenable position to be in. You are going to be seeing demo briefly commit to chases such as this one, such as onto the Dwight, try and get that injury, maybe a quick down, but this is a really awkward place to play it. If you don't have those straight lines to work with as demo, you find that your power is often going to be neutered, and yeah, even just a small point here, but instead of not going straight through the bus because you know that would set up the shred too easily, take the outside route so that you'll force the M1 instead. But demo just doesn't care, is going to go back to defending this 4 gen right here.
Absolutely. And now we're going to try smashing through the remaining generators, which will be a difficult task because ARP is known that you have some 3 or even 4 gen setups on one side of the map. And unfortunately, this is exactly what happened here for this survivor team as well. And this is why you really want to prevent a Demogorgon from eliminating one of your survivors that early into the game. And second, if you are losing a survivor, then at least breaking this setup and finishing the trial on the ARP with a 2-2 scenario. 2 generators down here next to the shack, 2 generators up there next to the main building. Unfortunately, we have to play at least around a 3-gen down here. The mid generator grants somewhat safety because you can make it very easily towards the top side, as we can see here perfectly by Celavi and F3 that are moving forward towards the main generator. Now will be interesting though, how aggressive will the killer play around the 3-gen? Will we see giving up on it relatively soon? Will we see a very, very clean camping and control of the generators? But with the 3v1 scenario, the aggression on the gens and the effort that the survivors can put into the gens is definitely drastically reduced.
Yeah, and I mean, the issue here is that there is that regression cap, as we know, that came in a while ago. 8 regression events on any generator means that it's just not going to go back anymore, right? So back in the old, I'm going to sound like an old man, but in the old days, right, this situation could last for like almost like 30-40 minutes of just back and forth on these gens, because you could just keep kicking them, keep regressing them. At the time it was you know, the Call of Brine overcharge meta, which was ludicrous to have to deal with. It's like, okay, I need to shower, I need to go. That's disgusting. I hate that. How, my god, that was insane. That was the Okay, I'm calm. It's a hell of a hit that came through. Hell of a hit.
Understandable. That was crazy. That was a really, really crazy one. Do we get a 4th generator? It seems like we do, but Dwight decides, understandably, I would say, to not take the biggest risk. I do think, buddy, he saw your arm there around the corner. So now we need to be really careful, though, that we're not taking too much of a risk here. That's going to be the injury and going down towards the bottom side. Dwight was potentially the one who was supposed to go for the rescue onto F3. And now he is instead running down. We have another survivor over here, and both of them have now been located. Actor, this might be a free second stage on the survivor there that is hooked if the Demogorgon decides to go for it. Otherwise, we will maybe having a double slug right here. Definitely our survivor team being in a very difficult spot out of nowhere.
I mean, Bye-Bye's done a pretty good job. I mean, the game could have ended here if Bye-Bye didn't play these pallets pretty well, pretty effectively, using them to buy time, buy space, exactly what you want to be doing. But, I mean, this is kind of what you have to do, and you have been forced into this position of your survivors. You are not comfortable anymore. You have forced Bye-Bye to go down in the other corner of the map just so that you have time for Celavi to come through and begin getting this reset. And also the basement hook going to be coming out as well, just to make this situation even more untenable for the survivors too. It's going to be a real problem. Reset is going to be happening on this other side of the map, but we do know that Demo does have portals set up for the mid-map, so isn't really going to have an issue just getting back to the other side. But full reset did come through ultimately, so it's not going to matter for the time being. But now, not only are you camping your 4 gens, but you're also camping Bye-Bye on a hook, and the level of urgency that you're placing on the survivors is now even greater.
Absolutely. And Demogorgon here with the full new setup, adjustment in the locations, more info being spread as well. I feel a little bit bad for the survivor team, because I feel like now they are doing exactly what they need to do. They are communicating, they are going for the unhooks, they are going for the resets. The problem is that they didn't realize early enough in the trial where the generator setup is that the killer is trying to defend and where they are not allowed to go down. And now, unfortunately, we are operating here deep inside of the 3-gen, even in the basement. There are only 3 survivors remaining. It's really, really sad to see this punishment that is coming out, but also shows us very beautifully how much of a strategy and planning ahead you need to be successful in the comp environment. Back to 25% here in the midsection. This generator was almost ready to go earlier, so this is really sad for our Dwight as well, and our Demogorgon will go straight over here, taking the Pop Ghost Weasel Kick as well. Poor Dwight repairing all of that for nothing, and a huge compliment to the Demogorgon for keeping everything so good under control.
Yeah, everything's under control right now. Bye-Bye does end up getting... He's able to escape the basement this time, so actually able to leave the shack for a few seconds. And nice stun is also going to buy a little bit more distance here, but I say a little bit with, you know, emphasis on the little part, right? There is no way the Bye-Bye can last particularly long here in this chase. If this is all you have to work with, and the shred comes through the corner, it's like... playing against this Demogorgon feels a little bit like buying the Mighty Eagle in Angry Birds and just using it to, like, destroy everything. You know what I mean? It feels, like, slightly unfair, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's... it will be his generator being kicked. Is it still regressing, or did he reach 8?
I believe it has reached 8. I believe it has reached 8.
Okay, then it's good news for the survivors now. Because that means that at least this generator in the midsection that is easy to access, since you can make the turn towards the main building quite easily, will not be regressing any longer. So we might see at least the 4th generator. Nice crouch check coming out here by F3. Really, really well done to prevent the hit. I don't know why he didn't throw the pallet there. I think he wanted to be juicy again with the second crouch check. Though getting generator number 4 out would be really, really important here, because your killer can certainly try work with all generators, with trying to defend all the generators, but keeping 2 gens under control will be really hard. So setting up for a 4K1 is definitely what you want to reach as a minimum here, and that will be the maximum at the same time as the Dwight is now being located and already injured. And since we don't have an unbreakable against the Demogorgon, this will be a 4K1. That's definitely a rough result for the survivor team to take. You usually see outs on the Demogorgon. On the other hand, 4K1 is a lot better than 4K2, so it was really important to get that additional gen.
Yeah, 1 gen really makes all the difference here, and yeah, CLIV is going to be going down in the mean side there as well. Very strong Demogorgon play coming out. The map was played about as well as you expect. The issue with the 3 gen is that you really need to tackle it early, because it's not a surprise, right? On other maps, 3 gens will often happen on accident, and you just have to deal with it. But on this map, you really need to be expecting it, because that is the killer's exact game plan, right? Cut the map into 2, only really play the one side, starve it of resources, starve it of, you know, gen progression, and wear the survivors down, right? F3 being a little bit optimistic there, hopping right onto the location of the hatch, but Salvi not dying in time for that to spawn in. That is going to be securing the 4K1 for our killer here today, and that is going to be a pretty strong performance from Rejected coming out here on the Demogorgon. It'll be interesting to see whether Tamashi are going to be able to deal with this. As you said earlier, outs are quite common on Demogorgon, but again, they put some
Wait, we're in. Welcome back, everyone. This is the final trial on the Demogorgon and the Astro's resting place. We are finding out if Rejected is winning it with a 3-1 or Tamashi taking the second set point and putting us on a tie here. A tie would also be possible right here, keeping it on the 2-1, since the win condition is 4K1, or the tie condition would be 4K1, and that is quite often a win condition or win result outcome I don't know. It's late in Europe. It's time to go to bed soon, so you can tell that my brain is starting to be fried. No, I'll not go to bed, but it's a good excuse. So we are seeing F3 on the killer here taking the responsibility for the final trial, and that's going to be the first chase with our Adam, who's going to dodge it twice. Really, really good showing from him. Will have to sacrifice the Shack Pallet after taking an injury, though. That's not the best start for the survivor that you really love to see, but on the other hand, if you are now able to show us a long run and give your team time to go on the generators, then you're definitely happy with that.
Yeah, it absolutely will be, and dropping that pallet nice and safe, going through the bus, but the distance not quite being there. I don't think we've actually seen F3 play kill today, so it's interesting to see whether the guns can be pulled out here and you can secure a nice dub. And yeah, that is going to be a down coming through in not super fast, but also not super poor time either. Interestingly, I don't believe that this killer has bought Corrupt Intervention. Definitely had a bamboozle on instead. I'm going to need to check that. It's more so a case of, like, these gens are being done all across the map. No, did have Corrupt, but it seems like the survivors are just going to be very strong at actually, you know, tearing this 3-gen apart.
And this is exactly what makes the difference to the previous trial, because in the previous trial we have witnessed how high the punishment can be when you're losing a survivor later on in the game and you haven't taken care of the 3-gen just yet. So the survivors, after maybe also realizing that, here saying we will not make the same mistake, we will take care of the 3-gen setup as quick as we can. Adam over peeking there on the corner, and then with a wonderful crouch tag forcing the Demogorgon being auto-aimed into the corner of the tile there. So really good showing here, staying alive. 2 injured survivors. The injury on the Yui is not healed yet. This is also telling us that they are smashing through the generators with the highest speed they have. And welcome, Yui! We were just talking about you. Thank you for saying hi to us, but a very unfortunate down also.
Yeah, very unfortunate, and agitation does mean this is going to go into the basement as well. Rough spot to be in, but yeah, really rough spot to be in right now. Has the eruption, so is forgoing maybe a little bit of so it has the bamboozle in lieu of the pop goes the weasel, so is going to be giving up some gen regression in favor for more lethal chases. Right now the chases have been pretty lethal thus far, has to be said. I mean, if you're Metos right now, your play has to be to try and get that pallet stun off and activate the smash hit, which you really need to be doing, but dropping the pallet there buys you a little bit of safety, but not going to be accomplishing it. You have enough distance for a TNL wall, though. That could be good enough for the time being, but eventually you're going to need some more resources to work with instead, and Demo crawling through that window at the perfect time as well. Using the bamboozle, what are you going to do right now, Metos? You know you can't go to the window because you're just going to get shredded down. Instead, you're going to go face first into a wall full of tires, and then picked up, put back on the hook. Has bought time, however, for Yuri to be rescued, and time for a 3rd generator to be completed. But we know that on this map, doing 3 generators really isn't a struggle. It's doing, you know, 5 of them. Wait, that didn't break. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same. Is the game all right? Is everything working there with our demo? But
are you all right, Gaia? Are you all right?
I am all right. Today? I have, but so I'm under control. But I'm worrying a little bit about the survivor team, because if I'm looking at what we face here, we have a 3-gen on the bottom side here. We have a very defensible generator setup down here. We have the hook stage right inside of it. We have the survivor being eliminated in just a few seconds. Actor, then I feel like we are in exactly the situation that we have seen last trial, and we remember how high the penalty for that was. So I'm a little bit concerned here for the survivor team, because any hook stage down here in this 3-gen setup will be punishing. Yeah, it's obviously greater if Maddox is surviving a little bit longer, but even if the Yui is hanging in the 3-gen setup, you will be able to guard the gens, you will be able to guard that hook. And now our Demogorgon also showing us that he really, really wants this elimination. Maddox again with a very, very nice juke, but then being pulled out of the locker. Yui being slugged, one survivor working on the generator down here. It's nice that they get the gen done on the top side. Now we have the tie condition for sure. But this was not the priority right now. The priority should have been getting the 3-gen out of the way. And now we have the elimination. We have one slugged survivor inside of the 3-gen. Actor, I'm concerned.
Yeah, just a little bit right now. I mean, you do have that tie committed, but you aren't able to get the pickup onto the Yuri. So, and that again, agitation means that it's just going to be going straight in the basement. Such a power position to be in, because you can have it defended the entire time, unless get you actually deciding to try and body block it, and it's going to be working out, and that's actually going to be okay. I mean, okay, body blocking the hook in comp DBD, sure, why the hell not? Why don't you? That's going to be denying the hook onto Yuri for a bit longer. You do not have good resources to work with here, however. You have, I mean, a TNL wall against a kill with Bamboozle, but this allows you to run as far into the map as you possibly can. But again, agitation means you're going to be taken right back in. Not quite the basement, so you aren't feeling too bad about it, but if you're able to heal up Get You, then this was absolutely worth it, right? However, instead, they're just going to be committing straight to this generator and then being forced off of it by just the sheer presence of F3. This guy's got aura for damn sure, that's what we'll say.
And we are seeing behaviors mechanic kicking in slowly but steady, potentially saving our survivor team from the sacrifice of a second team member too early. We need that final generator. This is the decision between taking the win here for Rejected or Tamashi walking away with a 2-1, which doesn't really feel like a loss, right? When you are playing a best of 5 for the practice here, and one team is winning 3-1, that seems to be a little bit clear, but 2-1 is really not a lot when you have two tight sets here. So for Tamashi, I really hope they can defend this. I really think it would be great and fair if Tamashi is defending this. On the other hand, Rejected was showing off beforehand, was really showing us that they can be an efficient survivor team, that they can be an aggressive survivor team. So let's say I wouldn't be surprised if they get all the generators done.
It's definitely possible here, but all it takes is for the demo to just kind of come back and continue pressuring out the generators. That right now is actually kind of distracted by Yuri. Is going to hop the locker and pop the eruption anyway. So this gen, before it might have actually had enough time. No, not quite. Wouldn't have had enough time regardless, but still could have put in a bigger dent into it. And I mean, you think the demo's just going to forget about it? No. Not going to be happening. Story knows that they can just kind of sit on the edge of the map and not really be chased all that hard. F3 recognizes the win condition, recognizes that Get You is not able to safely get this save online because of the injury that's been put onto him. So what do you do here? And also, I'm stupid. What am I talking about? The survivor's already dead. So why am I even talking about an unhook for? Brain's not working, ladies and gentlemen. As Dyer said, late in Europe and all that. 8 o'clock and all that. Way too late. What can I say?
Yeah, and it is way too late. Maybe this will be the excuse for the survivor team why they haven't gotten rid of that 3-gen down there. Yeah, so 4K1. It will be Tamashi having 1 set point overall, Rejected 2 set points overall, 2 sets were tied. So this is also telling us that the teams we have seen today against each other being on the same skill level. It was a very interesting and entertaining best of 5 with quick lobby setup as well. So huge shout out to Tamashi and Rejected. It takes a lot to come up here, playing in front of so many people, having 2 casters that are analyzing you, criticizing you. So thank you and respect for the huge step, and towards these two teams, big shout out for playing for us today. And Actor, thank you a lot for vibing here with me today in this community night.
Yeah, it's all vibes. After this, I think I'm going to put some dinner in the oven, eat my dinner, and then go to the gym, because your value is directly determined by the size of your muscles. It's a fun fact I've recently been learning, and if you have not yet found love, it is simply because your muscles are not big enough. True statement that I have figured out. Simple as that, right? The second condition is being good at Dead by Daylight, but that was never going to be happening. Anyway, yeah, it's been great. Phenomenal games that have come out today. Both these teams showing obviously a lot of room for improvement, but also quite a lot of skill at the same time. And yeah, it's been super entertaining. Just practice up the Plague a little bit more, and we should be fine in the future. Simple as that.
Absolutely, yeah. I do question the statement. For me, I think the only important thing you have to do is being good on Dead by Daylight. This is the only thing you need in life. Who needs a job?
Try that.
Who needs a family? Who needs marriage? Who needs kids? Who needs anything when you're good at DBD? And then afterwards you can bring it to Twitter and say, I ran this one. El Mao. Yeah, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming around once again for a community night. We appreciate all your support. Gris, thank you again for 20 gifted subs. Absolutely insane here.